Chapter 702. I lost. Looking at Lu Yuan, Evil Moon sighed softly. His expression was a little complicated. Full Moon was the self-created soul skill that he was most proud of. However, it was completely destroyed by Lu Yuan with just a light finger. This was a big blow to Evil Moon. Hearing this, Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said nothing. Losing, isn't this a very normal thing? What's the name of your move? Looking at Lu Yuan, Evil Moon asked with some curiosity. Lu Yuan's finger was as bright as a meteor. The swift speed and strong attack power completely broke his Full Moon in just one move. Its power was really very strong. Self-created soul skill, spear technique, meteor. Lu Yuan said with a smile. Spear technique, meteor? It's really a powerful self-created soul skill. Evil Moon praised sincerely. The power of meteor can only be regarded as okay among my self-created soul skills. I created it a long time ago. Lu Yuan shook his head and said. Self-created soul skills? Do you have more than one self-created soul skill? Evil Moon asked. Of course, it's just a few self-created soul skills. It's not that difficult. Lu Yuan said softly with a calm look. Hearing this, the corner of Evil Moon's mouth twitched. He had spent a lot of energy and only had one self-created soul skill, Full Moon. In the end, the other party had so many self-created soul skills. He even said, it's just a few self-created soul skills. It's not that difficult. And what made Evil Moon collapse even more was that just a self-created soul skill with decent power, spear technique, meteor, had completely defeated his Full Moon, which he regarded as a perfect self-created soul skill. If Evil Moon was like this, there was no need to talk about the audience under the ring. They couldn't even touch a hair of a self-created soul skill. Those who could comprehend a self-created soul skill were the top geniuses. And this guy in the ring had several self-created soul skills. Was he still human? What a freak. This guy is in the limelight again. He really likes to pretend. In the waiting area, in the Heavenly Star Squadrons area, Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan on the stage and couldn't help but grumble. Zhu Zhuqing shook her head and said, it's not that he likes to pretend. That's just his personality. It's because he thinks that it's not difficult to create his own soul skill from the bottom of his heart. It's not just in the arena. He'll say the same even when he's outside. Zhuqing, you seem to know him well, Qian Renshua teased. I don't know him as well as you do. The two of you have the most chemistry, Zhu Zhuqing said. Hearing this, Chihiro Snow smiled and did not comment. All right, stop praising each other. You all understand him, but I don't. Sometimes, I can't even see through his thoughts. Ning Rongrong said with a sad face. It's because you came late. Wait until you get along with him for a long time. You'll slowly understand him. Zhu Zhuqing comforted her. Hearing this, Ning Rongrong nodded. Zhu Zhuqing's words were indeed reasonable. Right, why is Ibuchi guiding Evil Moon? He can't have taken a fancy to Hulena, right? Looking at Lu Yuan guiding Evil Moon on the stage, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but ask with some doubts. That's one thing, but Ibuchi's thoughts aren't so simple. You'll know when you continue watching. Chihiro Snow shook his head and said. Oh. Since Chihiro Snow said so, Ning Rongrong naturally nodded obediently. Facing Chihiro Snow's powerful and majestic wife, Ning Rongrong was still a little afraid in her heart. Especially since she had a criminal record of drugging him. Under a guilty conscience, she was naturally even more afraid. What did you comprehend from that move just now? In that move, the power of the falling star itself was only one part. The more important thing was the spear intent contained in it. Before the move, the intent could break your Full Moon in one blow. The power of the intent is the most important thing. On the stage, looking at Evil Moon, Lu Yuan asked faintly. There is some shallow understanding, but it's so mysterious that it can't be described in words. Evil Moon closed his eyes and felt for a while, then said, Oh, this is natural. The mystery of the intent is difficult to describe in words. Just remember this feeling. You can go down and let your sister come up. Lu Yuan waved his hand and said softly, Well, Thank you for your guidance today. Evil Moon will remember it and will repay you in the future. Evil Moon clasped his fist and said, No, it's because of your sister. You don't need to repay anything. Just support us. Lu Yuan said with a smile. This is difficult. Alas, it's not up to me to decide. But I won't stop you. This is the only thing I can do. Evil Moon said with a sigh. That's enough. Lu Yuan said with a smile. After Evil Moon went down the stage, Hulena naturally came up next. Hulena moved her long slender legs with a brisk smile on her jade-like pretty face. The Martial Soul Palace team was defeated so miserably, but it didn't seem to affect her mood. On the contrary, she was very happy. Stopping 2 meters away from Lu Yuan, Hulena looked at the handsome Lu Yuan in front of her with a touch of deep affection in her eyes. Even though they were in public, she still couldn't suppress the feelings in her heart when she saw her most beloved junior brother at such a close distance. I haven't seen you for a long time. You've become more beautiful. What do you think of my proposal last time? Don't stay in the Martial Soul Palace anymore. How about returning to the Dragon King Palace with me? If you leave with me, you'll be the wife of the Dragon King Palace's Hallmaster. Other than me, everyone in the Dragon King Palace will have to listen to your orders, including the 6-titled Douluo of the Dragon King Palace. Isn't that very tempting? Isn't it better than being in the Martial Soul Palace? Lu Yuan said with a smile. 6-titled Douluo? Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Didn't the Dragon King Palace only have 4-titled Douluo? Since when did it become 6? 6-titled Douluo. It seems like there's someone under Ibuchi that I haven't seen before. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Ning Fengji's heart skipped a beat. He had seen Long Xiaoyaro, Yang Xiaozhe, Ma Xiaodao, Du Gubo, and the Frenzy Rhino Douluo. As for the 6th-titled Douluo, he had never seen him before. Ning Fengji neglected Ziji. Ziji was undoubtedly a titled Soul Master, and was equivalent to a rank 97 Transcendent Douluo. She wasn't any weaker than Yang Xiaozhe. Because she was a soul beast, her physical body was very strong. In a one-on-one fight, Yang Xiaozhe couldn't beat her. Furthermore, Ziji didn't have to worry about her identity being exposed. Because of her abilities, she could even display soul rings like other soul masters. Therefore, it wasn't a problem for her to be the 6th-titled Douluo. Chapter 703. It was just that Ziji was currently in charge of the Dragon King's Imperial Guards, and she rarely showed herself in public. Hence, only the people from the Dragon King Palace knew about her. There are 6-titled Douluo. The Dragon Emperor Douluo is an ultimate Douluo, and the Bright Phoenix Douluo is even stronger than Uncle Jen. Together with the Phoenix Douluo and the rest, the Dragon King Palace is indeed unexpectedly strong. If they join forces with the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect, the 2 of us will be able to fight against the Martial Soul Palace. With the help of the 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda, the 8-titled Douluo can fight against more than 10-titled Douluo. If I help the Dragon Emperor, he's already an ultimate Douluo. With my help, his strength will increase tremendously, and he'll be invincible on the continent. Furthermore, Rong Rong and Ibuchi are already together. I heard from Rong Rong that Ibuchi has taken advantage of everything except for the last step. They are destined to be together. With the issue of soul tools, the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect has to be tied to the Dragon King Palace, both publicly and privately. Ibuchi has already seen through all my schemes. I can't gain the upper hand against him. I thought that Rong Rong had gotten Ibuchi and pulled the Dragon King Palace to the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect side, and I had the upper hand. However, thinking about it carefully, Ibuchi is also using Rong Rong to crush the lifeline of the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect. This kid is really something. Ning Fengji sighed and said. However, looking at the current situation, I'm afraid the Dragon King Palace is going to fall out with the Martial Soul Palace. Ibuchi wants to kidnap the Pope's disciple in front of so many soul masters. He's clearly challenging the authority of the Martial Soul Palace. However, this is also a good thing. Ning Fengji nodded and thought to himself. 6-titled Douluo? Damn it, how can he be so strong? After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Tang San's expression turned extremely ugly. The number of people that Lu Yuan had wasn't any less than the Clear Sky sect. However, apart from Tang Xiao, the rest of the Clear Sky sect's members were all below level 95. It could be said that they couldn't defeat Long Xiaoyao, who was only level 99. Furthermore, the Dragon King Palace still had 5 extra titled Douluo. The Clear Sky sect was far stronger than the Clear Sky sect. This won't do. It looks like the Supreme Sky sect is not strong enough to take revenge on Lu Yuan. I need to borrow a new power, Tang San thought to himself as his eyes flickered. Follow you and join your Dragon King Palace? Helena tilted her head slightly, looked at Lu Yuan, and said in a tender voice, "No, my teacher won't agree." After hearing Lu Yuan's words, she naturally knew that Lu Yuan was up to something. Therefore, she immediately cooperated with him. Her Holiness is so reasonable, dignified, and generous. I don't think she'll hold you back on purpose. Therefore, don't worry and follow me. Lu Yuan raised his voice and laughed as he spoke. Hallmaster Lu, Nana is my disciple. Right now, we're in the finals of the Continental Elite Soul Master Tournament, and we're in front of the Pope's Palace in the Martial Soul Palace. Please mind your words and actions. Bibidon held onto her scepter, and there wasn't a single trace of emotion on her face. Although her tone was calm, it was obvious that she was very displeased. She even seemed to be threatening Lu Yuan. It seemed like this beautiful female pope was a little angry after being provoked by Lu Yuan so many times. Listening to Bibi Dong's words, a smile flashed across Lu Yuan's eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. He chuckled and said, "Your Holiness, why are you angry? I just like your disciple's beauty and want to marry her as my wife. As the saying goes, a fair and graceful woman is a gentleman's dream. Your disciple is peerless and enchanting, and I'm also a romantic and elegant man. We are a match made in heaven. Why are your Holiness opposed? Why are you so unhappy?" After hearing this, everyone was in an uproar. It had to be said that Lu Yuan was too bold. Lu Yuan was the first person who dared to find a girlfriend like this. As for those who saw deeper, such as Ning Fengji, he knew that Lu Yuan might really like Helena, but he was also deliberately provoking the Martial Soul Palace. After all, the relationship between the two sides wasn't very good. As for those who knew more, such as Chihiro Snow, they knew that Lu Yuan was deliberately putting on a show for everyone to see. He wanted everyone to know that the Dragon King Palace and the Martial Soul Palace were on opposing sides, and their relationship was already very tense. He wanted to numb some people and make preparations for his future plans. Haha, Palace Master Lu really knows how to talk. However, if Palace Master Lu really likes my disciple and is truly in love with her, then we can find a time to have a good talk. Why does Palace Master Lu have to make trouble here at this time? Bibi Dong said meaningfully. Oh no, Bibidon is trying to rope in Ibuchi. After hearing Bibidon's words, Ning Fengji's expression changed slightly. The current pope is indeed the most accomplished female pope in history. Ibuchi first teased her, then severely injured Yang from the Golden Generation. Now, he wants to openly kidnap the pope's disciple. Furthermore, the Dragon Emperor Douluo also beat up the Platinum Bishop, Sarkaz, in front of everyone. This is already a great humiliation to the Pope and the dignity of the Martial Soul Palace. However, she can actually tolerate all of this, and still wants to rely on Helena to rope in Ibuchi. Her endurance and scheming are really extraordinary. If she really manages to rope in Ibuchi, the Martial Soul Palace and the Dragon King Palace will join forces. How can other organizations survive in this world? Thinking until here, Ning Fengji couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Like Ning Fengji, Tang San's expression also changed slightly. If Lu Yuan's Dragon King Palace and the Martial Soul Palace really joined forces, then he wouldn't be able to take revenge. He would just wash up and sleep, because no matter how he jumped around, he would still die. Alone? Does Her Holiness want the two of us to talk alone? Yes, it should be a good experience to be able to talk alone with a beauty like Her Holiness. Lu Yuan stroked his chin gently, and his eyes scanned Bibidon from head to toe. He looked like a frivolous wastrel. Bastard. Seeing this scene, Chihiro Snow couldn't help but curse softly, and clench her fists tightly. Although Lu Yuan was acting for Ning Fengji and everyone present, she felt that Lu Yuan's thoughts were in it. Abuchi is really too much. How can he tease Her Holiness? Ning Rongrong was a little silly girl, and she couldn't tell what Lu Yuan was trying to do. All she saw was Lu Yuan teasing Bibidon. She pouted her small mouth and grumbled. Chapter 704. Rongrong, don't mind him. Abuchi is deliberately provoking you, Zhu Zhuqing explained when she saw Ning Rongrong's expression. Deliberately provoking you? What do you mean? Ning Rongrong opened her small mouth and asked with a puzzled expression. The Dragon King Palace and the Martial Soul Palace are not on good terms. Have you forgotten? Lu Yuan is doing this just to vent his anger, Zhu Zhuqing said. Oh, right. I remember that Guy Sarkis seemed to have found trouble with Abuchi. Later, he was pressed to the ground by the Dragon Emperor. Moreover, many people in the Dragon King Palace were injured at that time. Abuchi is unhappy with the Martial Soul Palace, so he deliberately wants to vent his anger this time. That's why he did this, right? Ning Rongrong's eyes lit up and she quickly said. Looking at Ning Rongrong's look of understanding, Zhu Zhuqing's mouth twitched. Lu Yuan's true purpose could not be revealed to Ning Rongrong now, so Zhu Zhuqing could only nod obediently. Seeing Zhu Zhuqing nod her head, Ning Rongrong could not help but smile. Looking at Lu Yuan in the arena, her beautiful eyes glowed brightly. After listening to Zhu Zhuqing's explanation, her complaints towards Lu Yuan had already disappeared completely. Instead, she wanted to watch a good show. What a naive child. Seeing this scene, Chihiro Snow couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Compared to them, Ning Rongrong was really too naive. Fortunately, Lu Yuan didn't have any bad intentions towards her. Otherwise, Ning Rongrong would help him count the money even if he sold her. For a long time, Lu Yuan and Ning Fengji had a battle of wits and courage. However, under normal circumstances, he wouldn't involve Ning Rongrong in this, even though Ning Rongrong's every move had a huge impact on their plans. When it came to relationships, Lu Yuan wanted to have pure love and not have other factors mixed in. Therefore, Lu Yuan had always resisted and avoided Ning Rongrong. Ning Rongrong's personality was one of the reasons, but this was also part of the reason. If Ning Rongrong hadn't drugged him and let him know that Ning Rongrong really loved him, he wouldn't have accepted Ning Rongrong so easily. How dare you be so disrespectful to His Holiness the Pope? As soon as Lu Yuan's words rang out, the chrysanthemum Douluo immediately rebuked Bibidon. At this point, if he still couldn't tell that Lu Yuan and Bibidon were putting on an act, then he wouldn't be able to continue living in this world. After all, he was naturally aware of Lu Yuan's plan, so he immediately chose to cooperate. You're the one who's being presumptuous. I'm talking to His Holiness the Pontiff. Who are you to interrupt? You're just an elder. Do you think you're on par with me? Do you know what it means to be superior? A cold look appeared in Lu Yuan's eyes as he swept his sleeves through the air and clasped his hands behind his back, exuding an intimidating aura. If Lu Yuan were to be described as a frivolous wastrel in the past, then Lu Yuan's aura was now as unfathomable as an abyss. His aura was even more pronounced, and all of the surrounding soul masters couldn't help but sigh in amazement. As expected of the Dragon King Palace Master. You. The chrysanthemum Douluo abruptly rose to his feet and pointed a finger at Lu Yuan with an enraged look on his face. You Guan, back down. Bibidon glanced at the chrysanthemum Douluo in an indifferent manner, but his voice was filled with an imposing aura. Palace Master Lu, I respect you as the Palace Master, and I've tolerated many things, but don't go too far. My dignity and the dignity of the Martial Soul Palace cannot be infringed upon by anyone. Bibidon looked directly at Lu Yuan with a cold expression and a sharp look in his eyes. His aura was ready to erupt at any moment, and it seemed that he was truly infuriated. There's no need to be so sensitive, Your Holiness. I'm only saying that you're beautiful. Everyone loves beauty, so how did that become an infringement of Your Holiness's dignity? Please don't accuse me of anything, Your Holiness, I won't admit to that. Lu Yuan withdrew his aura as he chuckled. Let the match begin. Bibi Dong tightened his grip on his scepter. His chest rose and fell slightly as he stared at Lu Yuan for a long time. A moment later, he seemed to have finally suppressed his anger. He waved his hand and spoke in an indifferent manner. "Yes, Your Holiness has given the order. Let the match begin." The red-robed bishop's voice rang out. "They're all good actors." Helena, who had witnessed everything, blinked her large pink eyes as she snickered in her heart. Regardless of whether it was Bibidon, Lu Yuan, or the Jew Douluo, their performances were flawless. Almost everyone believed that the relationship between the Dragon King Palace and the Martial Soul Palace was extremely tense. Even Ning Fengji, who was worried that Lu Yuan would be roped in, heaved a sigh of relief. "The match has begun. Let me see how strong you are now." Helena chuckled as a pink light flashed from her body. Her martial soul instantly possessed her body, and her 2 ears turned into furry fox ears. A huge projection of a 9-tailed fox appeared behind her, and 9 furry white fox tails grew from her perky buttocks as they swayed in the air. Her 6 soul rings, yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, and black, shone brightly as a strong and charming aura was released from her body. "You want to see how strong I am now?" Lu Yuan smiled faintly. His figure flashed, and he instantly appeared in front of Helena. His left hand held Helena's waist, and his right hand gently pinched Helena's chin as he said, "But I don't want to fight with you. You're so beautiful. If I hurt you, my heart would ache for a long time." Hearing these words, and being embraced by Lu Yuan in front of everyone's eyes, Helena's heart was filled with sweetness, but at the same time, she couldn't help but feel a strong sense of shyness. Her beautiful face was flushed red. "Then what do you mean?" Helena bit her red lips as she asked. "Of course I mean that I don't want to fight." Lu Yuan gently pinched Helena's face, and then let go of Helena's delicate body. His eyes looked around, and the corners of his mouth hooked up into a smile as he said loudly, "For this match, I represent the Heavenly Star Academy and admit defeat. I voluntarily enter the losers group finals this afternoon." As soon as these words came out, the whole arena suddenly went silent. No one would have thought that Lu Yuan, who was invincible, would actually surrender in front of the last student of the Martial Soul Palace. Could it really be like what he said, that it was because he liked Helena, and couldn't bear to hurt her? But why did these words feel a little strange? This guy who provoked the Pope in front of everyone, could he be this kind of person? Could he be this kind of person who loved a woman so much? Many of the audience expressed their disbelief. But unlike the other audience members, when Lu Yuan's words came out, the Grandmaster's face became as black as the bottom of a pot. He originally thought that he would be facing the Martial Soul Palace team, but he didn't expect that Lu Yuan would actually admit defeat. His entire plan had been smashed to smithereens. How could he not be angry in his heart? Chapter 705. Lu Yuan actually admitted defeat. Doesn't that mean that we will meet Lu Yuan this afternoon? Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Tang San's face turned ugly. He originally thought that the losers group finals would be against the Martial Soul Palace team, and that they would be able to easily win. However, he did not expect that Lu Yuan would actually admit defeat. They were going to meet the Heavenly Star Academy team in the afternoon. Lu Yuan's strength was too strong, and the things that he had displayed today were far beyond their expectations. If they wanted to win against Lu Yuan, they could only rely on the 7-man fusion technique. However, this technique required preparation time, and Lu Yuan might not give them this time. Moreover, the 7-man fusion technique could only be used once. If they used it today, they would not be able to use it against the Martial Soul Palace team tomorrow, and it would be difficult for them to win. Moreover, the most important thing was that Lu Yuan was not so easy to defeat. Even with the 7-man fusion technique, Tang San did not have full confidence in winning. If both sides were to fight to the death, and all of them were seriously injured, then they would have no chance of winning the championship. This was something that they could not accept. Another thing that made Tang San worried was that Lu Yuan had taken the initiative to admit defeat, and was obviously full of confidence. Could it be that Lu Yuan also had some powerful trump card? Looking at Lu Yuan's movements, Tang San, who had always been cautious, could not help but think too much. He never thought that Lu Yuan would be so confident. It was not because of some trump card, but because he did not put Tang San and the others in his eyes. This was like a battle between a giant dragon and an ant. Would the giant dragon have any worries? Only the weak like to worry about this and that, because when they saw the strength of their opponent, they did not have confidence in their heart. Heavenly Star Academy waiting area. Ibuchi actually admitted defeat. Why did he admit defeat? Ning Rongrong opened her small mouth, her beautiful eyes were filled with confusion. Although Hulena was a spirit emperor, Lu Yuan could easily defeat her. If he won this match, he would be able to directly enter the finals. Why did Ibuchi admit defeat? Could it be that he really liked Hulena? Is it starting? Zhu Zhuqing's gaze slightly congealed as she muttered to herself. Thinking back to what Lu Yuan had said, she knew that Lu Yuan was preparing to make his move. It seemed that this afternoon would be the day of Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng's death. She just didn't know how Lu Yuan would arrange these matters. Chihiro Snow's watery golden eyes stared at Lu Yuan as he secretly said in his heart, "Little bastard, you really have a lot of tricks up your sleeve. I'll let it go for now, but I don't believe that you were just acting when you teased Bibidon. I'll definitely ask you about it later." In front of the Pope's palace, Bibidon looked at Douluo and smiled. "Elder Douluo, do you still remember our bet?" "Humph, of course this old man won't forget. I'll take back the 5 longevity pills as the champion's reward. But Your Holiness the Pope, it's not that my palace master's skills are inferior, he's just being protective of the fairer sex. Who knows when your precious disciple will be seduced by my palace master?" Douluo said with a mischievous smile. "Oh, who knows what will happen in the future? This emperor doesn't care so much, at least for now. This emperor has won and Elder Douluo has lost. Moreover, whether or not Palace Master Lu can kidnap Nana is still unknown. Who knows, maybe Nana will kidnap Palace Master Lu to the Martial Soul Palace. At that time, Elder Douluo might even become my subordinate," Bibidon said with a smile. "Your Holiness the Pope thinks too highly of your own disciple. My palace master is a beautiful woman, I've never seen her before. Your Holiness the Pope's disciple may not be able to influence my palace master's decision." Douluo shook his head and said with slight disdain. He was someone who had seen Chihiro Snow. She was a girl who was much more outstanding than Hulena. Moreover, there was also Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong, who were not much worse than Hulena. With them around, he didn't believe that Hulena could seduce Lu Yuan. Then let's wait and see." Bibidon smiled gently and didn't argue with Douluo. She was just curious what kind of expression Douluo, Ning Fengji, and the others would have when Lu Yuan's identity was exposed one day. It should be very interesting. On the arena, Lu Yuan stood proudly with his hands behind his back. Facing the astonished expressions of the crowd, he smiled faintly. This was something that he had already decided on long ago. The Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team had 7 fusion skills. In the hands of Tang San, who was a Soul King, the power of his clear sky body could reach the level of a Soul Douluo. Hulena definitely wouldn't be able to withstand such an attack. If it were Chihiro Snow, it might be possible. Hulena would definitely be severely injured by this attack. He viewed Hulena as a treasure and didn't want her to be hurt at all. Thus, he might as well do it himself. Under the suppression of absolute strength, no matter how Tang San jumped around, the result wouldn't change. His gaze swept across Bibidon, Ning Fengji, Chihiro Snow, and finally stopped at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team. It stopped at Yu Xiaogang's unsightly expression. "Master, are you surprised by my decision?" "Are you surprised?" Lu Yuan smiled faintly as his indifferent voice rang out. "You must have thought that you saw through my thoughts and were afraid that I would severely injure Tang San's team, exhaust Yi Lingling's soul power, and cripple your team's fighting strength. That's why you surrendered in advance, right? Furthermore, you wanted to take advantage of me after I severely injured the Martial Soul Palace's team. You wanted to use your unharmed fighting strength to easily defeat them and advance to the finals, right? You might even be mocking me in your heart, thinking that nothing can escape your eyes. No matter what I do, I'll be helping you. Is that what you think, the so-called master of theory, Yu Xiaogang? Lu Yuan looked at Yu Xiaogang and smiled faintly. Creak. Yu Xiaogang clenched his fists so tightly that they creaked. His zombie-like face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He remained silent and didn't say a word. This was what he was thinking. He had been immensely pleased with himself before, but he didn't expect that Lu Yuan had seen through everything. Lu Yuan's surrender had completely destroyed his plans. He was extremely unwilling to accept this. His life's plans had almost never failed, but Lu Yuan had ruined it. How could he accept it in his heart? Furthermore, he had always prided himself on his unparalleled intelligence and liked to act like an expert to show off his aloofness. But now that he had been dealt such a blow by Lu Yuan, he was truly furious. Chapter 706. TSK, looks like you're very angry. Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile when he saw the Grandmaster's dark expression and clenched fists. He understood the Grandmaster very well. When he was in the spotlight, the Grandmaster liked to put his hands behind his back and raise his head with an unfathomable expression. It was as if this would show how intelligent he was. For example, when he explained to Tang San, Dai Mubai, and the others about Lu Yuan's goal, he did this. However, when the master was very angry, his face would darken, his fists clenched, his face stiff, and he would not say a word. At most, he would use his eyes to stare at others, as if he could kill them by doing so. He did not even dare to curse loudly. It was a classic example of incompetent rage. Cowardice and inferiority complex, these two words had run through his entire life. Haha, isn't it too early to be angry? I haven't finished speaking yet. Lu Yuan chuckled. These days, in order to gather information about me, you must have put in a lot of effort. Thunder Academy, Yu Tianxin is trash. He doesn't even have the courage to stand in front of me. It was you who went to find him and taught him the 4-body fusion technique. You wanted to use him to test the strength of our Heaven Star Academy's team, right? It's a pity that they're too useless. Before Zhu Qing and I could even make an appearance, they were already taken care of by my teammates. Your arrangements have been wasted. I'm sure you must be cursing them a lot in your heart. So, ever since I went up on stage, you've been there for every match. You've been hiding in a corner, secretly watching me, as if you're able to get some important information. However, are you feeling despair? I haven't even used my martial soul yet, and you still don't know anything about my strength. This isn't a good experience for someone like you, who has always boasted that everything in the competition is in your hands. When you saw me send my opponent flying without using my martial soul, were you very anxious? Were you afraid that your arrangements would fail and that the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team would be defeated by me? Especially after this morning's match, you became even more anxious when you saw me kill Soul Kings like I was slaughtering chickens. That's because you weren't sure if your trump card was enough to take me down. That's why your expression didn't look too good after I surrendered. You originally thought that your opponent would be the Martial Soul Palace's team, but now it's me. You can't accept it. Creak. Yu Xiaogang clenched his fists again. Seeing Yu Xiaogang clench his fists so hard that they creaked, Lu Yuan hurriedly waved his hands and said with a smile, "Don't be angry. It won't be too late for you to be anxious after I finish speaking. Right, there's something I need to tell you. Although you might not be able to accept it, I have to say that what you saw was only what I wanted you to see. You were afraid that Tang San and Dai Mubai would be seriously injured if the competition continued, so you withdrew early. This was also what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to surrender so that you could enter the losers bracket in the afternoon. Of course, you could have chosen not to surrender, but Tang San, Dai Mubai, and the others wouldn't have been able to leave the stage alive. So, with your self-proclaimed intelligence, you would have made them surrender because you wanted to take advantage of them. But what you don't know is that I wanted to completely eliminate you in the losers bracket from the very beginning. You wouldn't have met the Martial Soul Palace's team at all. You would have only met me. You repulsive melons and jujubes want to enter the finals? Dream on. The match in the afternoon will be the time to end you all. How is it? After hearing what I said, does your mood improve a little? The Horn of Wisdom, the theoretical master, Yu Xiaogang, who thinks he has everything under control. Lu Yuan said softly with a brilliant smile on his face. Lu Yuan, you. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Yu Xiaogang's eyes burned with anger. He pointed his finger at Lu Yuan and his chest heaved up and down. He clearly had an anxious expression, but he couldn't say a single word. He thought he had seen through everything, but he didn't expect that he was completely played in the palm of Lu Yuan's hand. Thinking back to how complacent he was not long ago, Yu Xiaogang even had the urge to jump off a building and commit suicide. This blow was too great. His strength had always been lacking, and his looks were average. The only thing he was proud of was his theories and his mind, which he thought was the best in the world. But today, he had been ruthlessly crushed by Lu Yuan on the level of wisdom. For Yu Xiaogang, this was simply more disgusting and uncomfortable than having a field of rice thrown over his head. He pointed at Lu Yuan and took a few steps back. Even his body was somewhat unstable. Just like this, in front of tens of thousands of people on the mountain and at the foot of the mountain, he, Yu Xiaogang, was played in the palm of someone else's hand. For his strong self-esteem, this was almost completely unacceptable. At this moment, it was already quite good that he was able to hold on and not faint from anger. But one thing was certain. Yu Xiaogang's mentality had completely exploded. Teacher. Tang San hurriedly went forward and supported Yu Xiaogang's body. His eyes were filled with intense humiliation and hatred, because he didn't see through Lu Yuan's plan at all. He was also someone who was played in the palm of Lu Yuan's hand. Like Yu Xiaogang, he had always been very confident in his own wisdom. And once a person who was very confident in his own wisdom was crushed by someone else on the level of wisdom, that kind of humiliation was very difficult to accept. Moreover, with so many people watching, they had really lost all their face. Lu Yuan, don't go too far. Tang San supported Yu Xiaogang and turned his head to stare at Lu Yuan, his face filled with anger. I'm going too far. For fleas like you who have been trying to find trouble with me, is it too much for me to just retaliate a little? Could it be that only you can deal with others, and others can't deal with you? Everyone is no longer a child. You want to take revenge on me? Sure, but you have to be prepared to receive my retaliation. Is there any meaning in pretending to be a victim? You want to gain sympathy from others? Haha, you'll only make others feel that you're disgusting. In the world of soul masters, the strong are respected. The truly strong speak with facts. I'm scheming against you, but aren't you also scheming against me and the Martial Soul Palace team? Didn't Yu Xiaogang want to scheme against me from the start of the qualifiers? It's just that you're too stupid and can't out-scheme me. Now you actually have the face to say that I'm going too far. You guys are really interesting. Lu Yuan curled his lips and said with disdain. Chapter 707. After Lu Yuan finished speaking, Ning Rongrong immediately nodded her head and said indignantly, "That's right. You're scheming against others, yet you don't allow others to retaliate. Disgusting. That's right. Some people only allow officials to set fires, but don't allow commoners to light lamps." Ma Hongjun looked at Tang San and pursed his lips. He had a look of disdain on his face. He didn't know why, but when he saw Tang San, he had an urge to beat him up. This urge was very strange, but it really existed. As for the master, who only knew how to talk big and didn't have any real abilities, he felt even more indifferent. Furthermore, Lu Yuan treated him well. He gave him the coxcomb phoenix Helianthus, resolved his mortal crisis, and purified the evil phoenix fire martial soul. He didn't ask for anything in return. He also knew from Oscar that Lu Yuan didn't even want them to help him. He only needed them to remain neutral. He didn't even need them to take sides. Where could they find such a boss? Anyway, Ma Hongjun had set his mind on Lu Yuan. No matter how Boss Yuan treated others, he was really good to his own people. Not only did he invite the teachers from Shrek Academy to join the Heavenly Star Academy, but he also gave his teachers the position of vice dean. He also had a very generous salary every month. He didn't even blink when he treated them to banquets that cost more than 1,000,000 gold soul coins. If they didn't follow such a boss, who else would they follow? Hence, When he heard Lu Yuan's words, he immediately expressed his agreement. This was because Lu Yuan's words were very reasonable. Tang San and the others' actions were indeed very disgusting. Oscar's eyes flashed as he looked at Tang San and said softly, "Originally, I thought that Tang San was a decent person. Now, it seems like he's just a hypocrite. I even think that the reason why Mubai walked on the path of confrontation with Ibuchi was because he was bewitching him. Oscar was actually a person who knew what was on the inside. His intelligence was also very extraordinary. He knew that Dai Mubai used to fear Lu Yuan like a tiger. A casual glance from Lu Yuan could scare him. He had even fled Shrek Academy because he was afraid that Lu Yuan would seek him out for revenge. Someone like him wouldn't even think of going against Lu Yuan unless someone had bewitched him. Oscar suspected that this person was Tang San. Even Yu Tianheng might have had the courage to seek revenge on Lu Yuan because he met Tang San. Moreover, Lu Yuan had said that they might have gone astray and used improper methods to increase their cultivation. Perhaps Tang San had led them to do this. The more Oscar thought about it, the more he felt that this Tang San was the root of everything. If it wasn't for Tang San, Dai Mubai would at least be able to survive even if he had to hide. This was because Lu Yuan thought highly of himself. He was the kind of person who couldn't be bothered to pay attention to those small fries. He wouldn't go out of his way to find Dai Mubai and kill him. But now, Dai Mubai and the rest were going against Lu Yuan. The outcome was obvious. Oscar didn't think that they could win. This was because Lu Yuan was too powerful. No matter how many tricks they had up their sleeves, they wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from Lu Yuan. Moreover, even in terms of scheming, Lu Yuan completely crushed them. He really couldn't see how Tang San and the rest had any chance of winning. You're right, this Tang San is a hypocrite. Lu Yuan has a grudge against them, and it's normal for both parties to seek revenge. It all depends on the strength of each party's methods. However, he tried to play tricks and then failed, but still pretended to be the victim. This is really unbearable. Zhu Zhuqing's cold voice sounded. There are many people like him in this world. You'll get used to it. Chihiro Snow glanced over and said plainly, "Yes, you're right." Zhu Zhuqing nodded and said, "TSK. Looks like this Yu Xiaogang's so-called wisdom doesn't live up to his name. Isn't he still being played around by my palace master? He really has the guts to scheme against my palace master. With that brain of his. Why doesn't he take a piss and look at himself in the mirror?" Looking at the scene below, Du Gubo curled his lips and said plainly. Hearing this, Ning Fengji smiled faintly and didn't say anything. He understood Lu Yuan's wisdom. He had fought with Lu Yuan many times and had some understanding of Lu Yuan's scheming. It wasn't something that Yu Xiaogang could be compared to. Yu Xiaogang's wisdom was only in arranging the so-called tactics. When it came to the real overall situation, he couldn't do it at all. For people like Ning Fengji and Lu Yuan, any random scheme was enough to change the situation of the entire continent. As for Yu Xiaogang, he was just a little smart. Moreover, he was beaten by Lu Yuan with just this little bit of intelligence. He really felt that Yu Xiaogang's face was hurting. Bibidon, on the other hand, had a complicated expression. Her deepest impression of Yu Xiaogang was his wisdom. Yu Xiaogang always had the appearance of a wise man. She was attracted by Yu Xiaogang's wisdom back then. However, seeing Yu Xiaogang being completely crushed by Lu Yuan in terms of wisdom today, Yu Xiaogang's image of wisdom in her heart really felt like it was collapsing. His figure, which had already faded a little, became even fainter. When Yu Xiaogang didn't even have the so-called wisdom, what did he have to make a goddess like Bibidon fall in love with him? Just based on his level 29 strength and his method of attack that only knew how to fart. Don't make people laugh their heads off. Really, when Lu Yuan showed the real side of Yu Xiaogang in front of Bibidon, the perfect image of Yu Xiaogang that Bibidon had imagined by herself was completely destroyed. Until now, in Bibidon's eyes, everything about Yu Xiaogang was really unbearable. He didn't look good, and there was no need to talk about his strength. His martial soul only knew how to squawk and fart. His only intelligence was completely crushed by Lu Yuan, and his so-called theories were only useful to those below the soul ancestor level. How did she fall in love with him back then? Bibidon couldn't help but ask herself. Teacher, let's go. Tang San couldn't stand being looked at with disdain and amusement by the surrounding people. Right now, he just wanted to help Yu Xiaogang and leave this place. Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng were the same. Although they were furious and wanted nothing more than to eat Lu Yuan, they didn't have the ability to do so. Under the gazes of the audience, they also wanted nothing more than to crawl into the ground. Today, they had lost all their face. Therefore, they chose to follow Tang San silently. Oh, you're going back now? Why don't you stay a little longer? I still want to have a heart-to-heart talk with you guys. But if you insist on leaving, I can't stop you. Then I'll see you in the afternoon. Trash, I hope you're a little stronger. I still want to play to my heart's content in the afternoon. Looking at Tang San and the others, Lu Yuan smiled slightly. Chapter 708. We'll give you a surprise. We won't let you down, Lu Yuan. Just you wait. Tang San turned to look at Lu Yuan. His eyes were dark and full of resentment. His voice was forced out from between his teeth. Haha, is that so? Then I'll wait and see. I hope you guys aren't all talk and no action. Lu Yuan chuckled. Don't worry, we'll make you suffer. Tang San said indifferently. That's good. I was afraid you guys weren't strong enough. Oh, right. If you guys lose miserably this time, you won't blame me for bullying you, right? Lu Yuan said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Tang San, Yu Xiaogang, and the others' faces darkened. Lu Yuan was rubbing salt on their wounds. Tang San clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. He controlled his anger and said coldly, Don't worry, we won't. You'll be the one who loses miserably. After he finished speaking, he didn't want to listen to Lu Yuan and quickly left with the Grandmaster. They couldn't help it. Everyone's disdainful gazes made them uncomfortable. They didn't want to stay a moment longer. After Tang San and the others left, Lu Yuan glanced at the red-robed cardinal and said, You can announce the results of the competition. The red-robed cardinal looked at Bibidon. After he nodded, he said loudly, Since the Heavenly Star Academy team has admitted defeat, the Martial Soul Palace team is the winner of this competition. They will advance to tomorrow's finals. The Heavenly Star Academy team and the Heaven Do Imperial Academy team will enter the losers' finals in the afternoon. The winner will advance to tomorrow's finals and compete with the Martial Soul Palace team for the championship. Now, please leave the waiting area. The losers' finals will be held in the afternoon. The red-robed cardinal's voice resounded in the arena. Lu Yuan turned around, stretched out his index finger, and gently lifted Helena's chin as he said frivolously, It seems that I have to go first, little girl. Then we can only see each other in the arena tomorrow. See how I'll beat you up tomorrow. Helena clenched her fists and said fiercely, Heh, you're quite confident. All right, then I'd like to see how capable you are. Pinching Helena's little face, Lu Yuan smiled, turned around, and slowly walked down the ring. Abuchi, brother. Lu Yuan had just left the stage when Ning Rongrong and Wang Chioa rushed over. Each of them grabbed one of Lu Yuan's arms and hugged him tightly. Seeing this, Lu Yuan smiled and allowed them to drag him forward. Share, Zhu Qing. Looking at Chihiro Snow and Zhu Zhuqing in front of him, Lu Yuan called out softly. Zhu Zhuqing nodded her head slightly. Qian Runxue snorted and said in a strange tone, Young Master Lu, you were flirting with that woman just now. You even dared to flirt with the current pope. You sure have guts. Of course, but I'm not just brave. I'm also very good in other aspects. Do you want to learn from me again? Lu Yuan smiled. He naturally knew why Chihiro Snow was angry. It was because he had flirted with Bibidon. He was afraid that he would have an improper relationship with Bibidon. But wasn't he just acting? It was understandable. So in front of Chihiro Snow, he was very confident. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow's face turned red and she couldn't help but curse. Bah, you pervert, big pervert, pervert. TCH, didn't you like to be like this with me? Why, after the matter is over, You changed your attitude, woman. Lu Yuan curled his lips and said, pervert, I'll let you talk nonsense again. Feeling that Ning Rongrong and the others were looking at her with a strange expression, Chihiro Snow's face turned red, then she threw herself into Lu Yuan's arms and bit Lu Yuan's shoulder with her silver teeth. Chihiro Snow didn't show any mercy. She bit with all her strength. She just wanted to teach Lu Yuan a lesson and make him remember. However, even though Chihiro Snow bit him so tightly, Lu Yuan didn't react at all. It was as if he didn't feel any pain at all. Stop biting. Don't break your teeth. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. His body was like jade now, and he wasn't afraid of blades and swords. No matter how Chihiro Snow bit him, she couldn't hurt him at all. Bah, why is your body so hard? Chihiro Snow let go and looked at Lu Yuan. She was confused. When she bit Lu Yuan earlier, she didn't feel like she was biting flesh, but a piece of steel. Not only did she not hurt Lu Yuan, but she also hurt her own teeth. Isn't it good to be harder? Lu Yuan smiled and pulled his hand back from Ning Rongrong and Wang Chou's arms. Then, to Chihiro Snow's surprised cry, he carried her in his arms. Chihiro Snow cried out first, and then shyly buried her little head into Lu Yuan's arms in front of everyone's eyes. Let's go, we'll come back in the afternoon. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and walked out of the waiting area with Chihiro Snow in his arms. The people of Heavenly Star Academy naturally followed behind and walked out together. Outside Martial Spirit City, a figure slowly appeared. Her face was like jade, her skin was snow white, her nose was high, her facial features were extremely delicate, and her eyebrows were long and slender, with an indescribable beauty. She had a pair of clear sapphire-like eyes, deep and distant. Her eyes seemed to be able to speak, like a beautiful picture, telling the prosperity of thousands of miles. She had a head of long blue hair, and her entire body exuded a vast and profound aura, as if it could contain all things. She had a graceful temperament and a beautiful face. Whether it was appearance or temperament, this woman was not inferior to Bibi Dong at all. She was definitely one of the top beauties in the world, especially the enchanting flavor that had been brought about by the passage of time. It added a strange charm to her. She walked slowly and muttered to herself, I've been following the orders of the sea god to track down the sea god's heart and the destruction of the sea god's consciousness for a long time. I've stepped on half of the continent, but I still haven't found anything. The strongest force in the continent is the Martial Soul Palace, not to mention that Sendryu is the god's messenger of the angel god. The destruction of the sea god's consciousness might have something to do with the Martial Soul Palace, and even if it has nothing to do with it, I still have to make a trip to the Martial Soul Palace. Although the Martial Soul Palace is strong, it's not difficult for me to leave with my strength, and Sendryu may not make a move against me. She said softly, her footsteps light, but every time she took a step, her body could suddenly move more than 10 meters forward, and with just a few flashes, her figure quickly disappeared. Chapter 709. Sacred Light Hotel, 6th floor, room 601, Dawn. Chihiro Snow's delicate body was thrown on the bed, making a sound. Hey, pervert, don't tell me you want to do it now. You still have a competition in the afternoon. Seeing Lu Yuan slowly approaching, Chihiro Snow quickly opened his mouth and said, It's okay. Those chickens and dogs are not my opponents at all. I can beat them with one hand. It's not a problem. Lu Yuan chuckled and walked towards Chihiro Snow. I didn't mean that. I just wanted to say that you are too good. The competition is at 8:45 in the afternoon. At that time, I'm afraid you won't be finished. There won't be enough time, Chihiro Snow said. Hearing this, Lu Yuan's face stiffened. Damn, I forgot about this. So, don't mess around now. Looking at Lu Yuan's face, Chihiro Snow smiled and said. Seeing Chihiro Snow's teasing smile, Lu Yuan rolled his eyes and walked to the bedside and sat down. Chihiro Snow chuckled and put his arms around Lu Yuan's neck from behind and lay on his back. Abuchi, remember what you promised me. Don't have an improper relationship with Bibidon. Don't forget who she is to me. Chihiro Snow whispered in Lu Yuan's ear. I know. You don't have to remind me all the time. It feels like chanting a curse. Lu Yuan exhaled and said helplessly. H, I'm afraid that you won't be able to control yourself and do something bad. You are a real pervert. I can't, rest assured. Chihiro Snow said. I can't do it if you want me to stop liking her, but I can still do it if I don't sleep with her and do things that I shouldn't do. Don't worry. Lu Yuan held Chen Runshue's hand and said softly. That's good. You have to know your limits. Chihiro Snow said warmly. Yes, yes, yes. I know what I'm doing. By the way, Cher, what do you think of the scene this morning? Lu Yuan asked with a chuckle. Not bad. Now the whole continent will know that the Dragon King Palace and the Martial Soul Palace are not on good terms. At least Ning Fengji will believe it, Chihiro Snow said. Yeah, it's mainly for him to see. If he sees it, the Snow Knight Emperor will see it too. If the Snow Knight Emperor knows about it, our plan will be easier to carry out. Lu Yuan said. That's true, but Ning Fengji is now your future father-in-law. It's not good for you to trick him like this, is it? Chihiro Snow teased. What's not good about it? He's the one who will be tricked. This old fox needs to be tricked a few more times. As for Rongrong, the matter between me and the old fox has nothing to do with her. Unless the old fox completely surrenders to me one day, I will still trick him. Lu Yuan said with a smile. You. Chihiro Snow said coquettishly. Lying on Lu Yuan's back, she felt the vastness and majesty of his back. Martial Soul City, in a hotel. Teacher, are you okay? Tang San asked softly as he helped Yu Xiaogang to sit down. I'm fine. It's just that I didn't expect Lu Yuan to be so crafty. We must go all out in the losers group finals in the afternoon. Whether we can win the championship or not, we don't care about that for the time being. But we must defeat Lu Yuan. If we can't win the championship, they can't either. Yu Xiaogang's eyes flashed with a trace of anger as he said faintly. Teacher, you're right. We must make Lu Yuan pay 100-fold for the humiliation this morning. Teacher, do you think we can defeat Lu Yuan with the 7-in-1 fusion technique? Tang San asked. Absolutely. The 7-in-1 fusion technique is very powerful. I spent a lot of time researching it. As long as you can use the 7-in-1 fusion technique, the probability of winning is very high. The only thing is whether you have the opportunity to use it. After all, the 7-in-1 fusion technique needs a long time to prepare. However, if you think about it carefully, it shouldn't be a big problem. With Lu Yuan's arrogance, he might even take the initiative to let you use the 7-in-1 fusion technique. Therefore, you don't have to be too worried. We must win this afternoon's match. Furthermore, we must win beautifully. We must teach Lu Yuan a lesson. Yu Xiaogang gritted his teeth as he spoke with a furious look on his face. That's right. Not only do we have to teach him a lesson, we have to cripple him. Let's see if he can still be so arrogant after he's crippled. Dai Mubai clenched his fists tightly as his eyes turned red. Mubai is right. We have to cripple him. Yu Tianheng said faintly. However, there was a bone-chilling coldness in his voice. No. You can severely injure Lu Yuan, but you can't cripple him. The Dragon Emperor Douluo is protecting him. If you cripple him, none of you will be able to leave Martial Spirit City. You will all die here. Not only that, but the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect and the Clear Sky Sect will also be destroyed by the Dragon King Hall's attack. Therefore, even if you don't feel comfortable, you have to consider these problems. You can't only care about yourself and ignore the powers behind you. Yu Xiaogang said with a serious look on his face. Uncle is right. We have to consider these things. All right, we'll just beat Lu Yuan until he's half paralyzed. After that, we'll humiliate him. As long as we don't cripple him, we should be fine. Yu Tianheng nodded as he spoke. Aren't we going to cripple him? Tang San's eyes flashed. Just severely injuring Tang San wasn't enough to vent his anger. Furthermore, whether the Clear Sky Sect was destroyed or not was none of his business. Back then, his father and mother were being hunted down without doing anything, and his mother had to sacrifice herself to save him and his father. Tang San would never forget this grudge. Tang Xiao thought that he could gloss over this matter by saying that he didn't want to talk about it, but how could these things be hidden from him? There were many people who knew about what happened back then, such as them. The only thing he had to worry about was how to get away after crippling Lu Yuan. If he couldn't solve this problem, then he really would have to spare Lu Yuan this time. Although Lu Yuan was very annoying, his life was more important. He still had to find the Sky Azure Bull Python and the Titan Giant Ape for revenge. He couldn't leave his life here because of Lu Yuan. Forget it, Lu Yuan was lucky this time. When he had the chance next time, not only would he cripple Lu Yuan, he would also ruthlessly torture him to death. Only in this way would he be able to vent the anger in his heart. Little San, why are you in a daze? Do you remember what I said? Seeing Tang San in a daze, Yu Xiaogang couldn't help but softly call out to him. Tang San nodded and said, I remember. I will pay attention to my actions. I won't cripple Lu Yuan. It's good that you remember. Yu Xiaogang nodded slightly and softly said. Chapter 7:10. It was noon. At this moment, both parties had already arrived at the arena and entered the waiting area. Not only that, but many spectators were already in their seats. After all, the losers group final was also a very exciting match. What happened in the morning was still clearly etched in the minds of the spectators. Lu Yuan and Tang San's team were not on good terms, and the friction between the two teams meant that there would be an extremely intense battle in the afternoon. Therefore, how could the spectators not be interested? In front of the Pontiff's palace, 6 gilded chairs were already placed. Bibidon and Dugu were still sitting in the middle, while the chrysanthemum Douluo, ghost Douluo, Ning Fengji, and the sword Douluo sat on either side of them. Even these big shots were very interested in this match. Of course, none of them thought that Tang San and the rest could win. Bibidon naturally knew Lu Yuan's true strength and soul ring combination. He was her disciple, and she naturally had full confidence in Lu Yuan. The chrysanthemum Douluo and ghost Douluo were also the same. Lu Yuan's monstrous talent was engraved in their hearts, and they did not think that Tang San and the rest could compare to Lu Yuan. Dugu naturally had blind trust in Lu Yuan. In his eyes, Lu Yuan was the most dazzling genius in the world, and no one could compare to him. What was a mere Tang San to him? In contrast, the sword Douluo and Ning Fengji had witnessed Lu Yuan in action. Even without using his martial soul, Lu Yuan was still able to unleash the power of a soul Douluo. How were Tang San and the others supposed to defeat him? In their eyes, the outcome was already decided. What they wanted to see was what kind of trump cards Tang San and the rest had, and how much strength they could force out of Lu Yuan. In the waiting area, Lu Yuan looked very relaxed, as if he did not care about this battle at all. He sat in the waiting area and chatted with Chihiro Snow and the rest, and he was very relaxed. On the other hand, the members of the Heaven Do Emperor Elephant Academy team, including the masters, all had serious expressions on their faces, even though they believed that the 7 of them could combine their skills to defeat Lu Yuan and obtain victory. Comparing the two, it was clear which was superior and which was inferior. The official start of the competition was 8:45 in the morning. It was now 8:45 in the morning, which meant that there was still half an hour left. Half an hour here was equivalent to 1 hour. An hour wasn't a long time, but it actually passed by very quickly. Not long after, it was already 8:45. Time is up. Contestants from both sides, please step onto the stage. The cardinal's voice rang out. Captain, do your best. Lu Yuan stood up, and the members of the Heavenly Star Academy behind him started to cheer him on. Don't worry, it's just a piece of cake. There may be a good show for everyone to watch later. Let's get ready first, Lu Yuan said with a gentle smile. A good show? What show? Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but be curious. You'll know when the time comes, Lu Yuan said with a chuckle. Then, he moved his feet and slowly walked in the direction of the ring. Soon, both sides walked up to the ring and faced each other in a standoff. Lu Yuan, I have to say, you are indeed arrogant. Facing our entire team, you actually dare to go up alone. Looking at Lu Yuan opposite him, Tang San's eyes narrowed as he said indifferently, "What's so great about you guys? Other than the losers, I alone am enough." Lu Yuan waved his sleeves lightly, as if he didn't put them in his eyes at all. "Hihi, you are so arrogant now. I hope you won't cry when you lose," Tang San said softly, with a trace of coldness in his tone. "You guys are very confident. Ian, you clearly know that your strength is far inferior to mine, but you are still inexplicably confident. Then let me guess what your confidence is. Is it a martial soul fusion skill?" Lu Yuan touched his chin, shook his head, and said, "It shouldn't be. With your martial souls, dragon, tiger, grass, tortoise, bird and so on, it doesn't seem like they can produce a martial soul fusion skill. Could it be a 7-body fusion skill?" Lu Yuan said seriously. Once he said this, Tang San and the others' faces changed slightly. However, Lu Yuan acted as if he didn't see it, and continued, "Since Yu Tianxian and the others know a 4-body fusion skill, and it was taught by a so-called master, this master should know something about fusion skills. He must have held back from Yu Tianxian and the others, which is why he taught the 4-body fusion skill. However, it is reasonable that you guys have a 7-body fusion skill. After all, a 7-body fusion skill isn't that difficult. If not for the fact that I am too lazy to do it, I can do it too. After the 7-body fusion skill, the 7 people's strength should be able to push the leader's soul power to the level of a high-level soul sage. Perhaps this is the trump card you think you can use to defeat me," Lu Yuan said with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. Hearing this, Tang San and the others were silent, but their faces didn't look very good. "Oh, it seems like I was right. Your trump card is indeed a 7-body fusion skill. Otherwise, your faces wouldn't be so ugly. However, you don't have to worry. I won't interrupt you, and I will give you enough time to prepare." Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Tang San and the others relaxed a lot. Without the 7-body fusion skill, they didn't have the confidence to defeat Lu Yuan. Indeed, it was just as the master had said. Even if he knew that they had a 7-body fusion skill, Lu Yuan would still let them use it. However, Lu Yuan's tone changed, and he continued. Once he said this, Tang San and the others' hearts jumped. Was Lu Yuan going to regret it? However, it was clear that Lu Yuan wasn't such a person. "However, I am very interested in your current strength. All of you are full of confidence. I would like to have a good taste of it. As long as you accompany me for a while, I will naturally give you the time to merge the 7 of you into one," Lu Yuan said. "Then you have to watch carefully. We will let you know how much we have improved over these years." As Tang San said this, his body suddenly froze, and he shouted, "Brothers, release your soul rings." Tang San shouted, and the 7 members of the Heavenly Star Battle Team released their martial souls at the same time. The roars of dragons and tigers rang out as beautiful soul rings rose from beneath Tang San and the others. They were a perfect combination of soul rings. 2 black 10,000-year soul rings appeared beneath Tang San's body, making him look rather imposing. Tang San stood in the middle of the team, while Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng stood in front. The 2 of them emitted an explosive aura, and they stared at Lu Yuan with eyes as fierce as wild beasts. They had been waiting for this battle for a long time. Chapter 711. Lu Yuan smirked as he watched Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai exude their auras. Interesting, they really do look like they're capable of this. The 2 of them were only rank 48, but their auras were close to that of a Soul King's. Compared to the average Soul Master, they were pretty good and could be considered geniuses. However, this was nothing to Lu Yuan. Being a Soul Ancestor or a Soul King didn't make much of a difference to him. It was just a matter of a single slap. Attack! At Tang San's command, Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng charged forward at the same time. 1 dragon and 1 tiger charged towards Lu Yuan with a monstrous aura. Thunderous Dragon Claw. Unstoppable Thunderbolt. White Tiger's Shield. White Tiger's Vajra Transformation. The 2 of them roared at the same time. Bluish-purple scales began to crawl over Yu Tianheng's body. His dragon arms had completely transformed into bluish-purple dragon claws. This was the blue lightning tyrant dragon's dragon form. At the same time, lightning surged from Yu Tianheng's body, bringing with it a violent aura. Lightning originally possessed great destructive power, but now that it was paired with Yu Tianheng's attack, it was even more powerful. Dai Mubai's 2 soul rings lit up at the same time as his body grew twice. The White Tiger's shield and White Tiger's Vajra transformation were both skills that increased his strength, defense, and attack. Using both skills at the same time, Dai Mubai's physique had reached a very high level. He didn't dare to underestimate Lu Yuan, so he used his true strength from the start. At the same time, the pure black blue-silver grass in Tang San's hand, also known as the dark blue-silver grass, began to stir as it searched for a suitable opportunity to attack. Graphite, Millstone, and Oslo were behind them, waiting to receive Tang San, Dai Mubai, and the others. The 9-hearted begonia in Yi Lingling's hand shone with a white light. It could be said that the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team had already made their move from the start. Lu Yuan, Dai Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai pounced towards Lu Yuan one after another. Their sharp dragon and tiger claws shone with a dazzling cold light. Ka. Lu Yuan casually clenched his fists, which produced a series of crackling sounds. Looking at the 2 figures pouncing towards him, Lu Yuan's feet moved slightly, and the sound of a golden dragon's roar could be heard continuously. His figure suddenly disappeared. Pa! The white and tender palm collided with Yu Tianheng's sharp dragon claws, causing sparks to fly in all directions. Yu Tianheng felt a sharp pain coming from his dragon claws. That white and tender palm seemed to be even harder than iron. Not only did his dragon claws not cause any damage to it, he was the one who was injured instead. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. With a flip of his palm, he grabbed Yu Tianheng's wrist and exerted a little force. With a cracking sound, Yu Tianheng's seemingly incomparably majestic dragon arm and sharp dragon claws were bent at a 90-degree angle. In just a moment, Yu Tianheng's wrist was broken. Ah! With his wrist broken, Yu Tianheng couldn't help but let out a mournful cry. The pain went straight to his brain and was unbearable. With a wave of his left arm, his dragon claws, which were shining with lightning, grabbed towards Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan first smiled and casually blocked it. Suddenly, his expression froze as he grabbed Yu Tianheng's left wrist and pulled it in front of him. Immediately after, Dai Mubai's tiger claws, which were shining with a sharp cold light, landed on Yu Tianheng's body, leaving a deep claw mark on his chest. On it, thick blood flowed out and dyed Yu Tianheng's chest red. Immediately, Yu Tianheng couldn't help but let out a mournful howl. Tianheng. Dai Mubai was a little stunned when his attack landed on his teammate. He didn't expect that Lu Yuan would not dodge it even though he could have easily dodged it. Instead, he pulled Yu Tianheng in front of him. He didn't stop in time and instead hurt his teammate. TSK, not bad. You even hit your own teammate. You, Dai Mubai, are a ruthless person. Lu Yuan threw Yu Tianheng away like he was throwing trash. Looking at Dai Mubai in front of him, he had a big smile on his face. Nonsense, it's all your fault. Dai Mubai roared. He waved his tiger claws and pounced towards Lu Yuan. You're courting death. Lu Yuan's figure flashed and instantly appeared in front of Dai Mubai. He grabbed Dai Mubai's tiger claws and twisted it. With a crack, Dai Mubai's entire right arm was crippled. Today, Lu Yuan was filled with hostility. Once he attacked, he would definitely hurt his opponent. With the White Tiger's shield and White Tiger's Vajra transformation, Dai Mubai's defense wasn't weak. However, in the hands of Lu Yuan, he was still as weak as a piece of tofu. Dong! A punch landed on Dai Mubai's chest. The sound of bones cracking could be heard. Dai Mubai's figure flew out and he vomited blood in the air. In less than a minute, both Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng were injured. Boring attacks. Lu Yuan casually sighed. He took a step forward. Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet froze. He didn't know when, but a strand of blue-silver grass had bound his body. With a forceful stomp, a huge force burst forth, and a large depression appeared where his foot landed. The air suddenly trembled, and the black blue-silver grass that had just bound his body was completely shattered into pieces. Tang San. Looking at the figure who launched the attack, Lu Yuan moved and rushed towards Tang San. In the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's battle team, Tang San was the only one he was interested in playing with. Blue-silver grass, bind. Seeing Lu Yuan rushing towards him, Tang San's expression froze. Pure black blue-silver grass sprouted from the ground and coiled around Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan's figure didn't change. A golden light emerged from his body and wrapped around him. When the strands of black blue-silver grass came into contact with the golden light, they shattered inch by inch and dissipated into nothingness. Using the dragon swimming steps, Lu Yuan raised his jade-like palm and lightly struck towards Tang San. Whoosh! Lu Yuan was halfway there when the sound of something breaking through the air entered his ears. 2 pitch-black tortoiseshell shields were flying towards him. The edges of the tortoiseshell were extremely sharp, and they emitted a cold light. The tortoiseshell was still spinning at a high speed. Even the air seemed to be cut apart by it, producing a whistling sound. Suddenly, the 2 tortoiseshell shields flew towards him. Lu Yuan couldn't help but stop and turn around to face the sharp tortoiseshell shields. At the same time, Tang San quickly pulled away. The blue-silver grass in his hands grew rapidly, and his third soul ring emitted an intense light. Clang! His palm slapped away one of the tortoiseshell shields. Immediately afterwards, the other tortoiseshell shields came flying towards him. These tortoiseshell shields were condensed from the Shi brothers' martial souls. They could be controlled from a distance and were extremely destructive. Chapter 7:12. Scram. Lu Yuan furrowed his brow and slapped the other tortoiseshell shield away. At the same time, he moved and attacked Tang San again. Third soul skill, Blood Hell Spiderweb. Tang San's third soul ring suddenly lit up, and a ball of blood-red light was flung out by Tang San. It suddenly stretched out in mid-air and turned into a blood-red spiderweb that was about 4 meters in diameter. It directly enveloped Lu Yuan. His third soul ring is the Blood Hell Demonic Spider. Seeing Tang San's third soul ring, Lu Yuan immediately thought of the soul beast that this skill came from. It was the Blood Hell Demonic Spider that he had encountered in the dense fog forest. The Blood Hell Demonic Spider was an extremely savage soul beast. It was a mutated soul beast of the man-faced demon spider, but it was superior to the man-faced demon spider in terms of both poison and strength. Not only did the Blood Hell Demonic Spider's spiderweb contain the same neurotoxins and corrosive toxins as the man-faced demon spider, but it also contained an extremely dangerous blood poison. This blood poison was extremely frightening, and its toxicity was abnormally strong. If an ordinary soul master was poisoned by this blood poison, their blood would quickly mutate. The energy and vitality in their blood would quickly dissipate, and they would quickly start to coagulate. The poison of a 1,000-year Blood Hell Demonic Spider was enough to kill a soul sage. It could be said that Tang San's third soul skill, Blood Hell Spiderweb, was much stronger than his third soul skill, Binding Spiderweb, in the original story. However, it was naturally ineffective against Lu Yuan. Back then, he had killed a 10,000-year Blood Hell Demonic Spider in a few moves. Tang San, a mere 1,000-year Blood Hell Demonic Spider, had given him a soul skill. Golden Dragon Armor, Lu Yuan shouted. A dense golden light enveloped his body, and a golden armor appeared. 2 colors, icy blue and fiery red, rendered beautiful colors on the dazzling golden armor. A fiery red cloak fluttered behind Lu Yuan's back. After Lu Yuan absorbed his 6th soul ring, the weight of his golden dragon armor had increased once again. Right now, it weighed more than 25,000 kilograms. 50,000 kilograms was a terrifying number. Generally speaking, only Soul Douluo could have more than 50,000 kilograms of strength. However, Lu Yuan's golden dragon armor had already reached this weight. Generally speaking, even an ordinary titled Douluo might not be able to bear 50,000 kilograms of weight. However, Lu Yuan's golden dragon armor was different. His strength was already at 160,000 kilograms, and the golden dragon armor's weight was very suitable for him. If it didn't have this weight, he would find it too The golden dragon armor was immune to all debuffs and was the natural counter to all poisons. Although Lu Yuan wasn't afraid of being poisoned, he was afraid that his clothes would be stained. Therefore, he used the golden dragon armor to completely seal off Tang San's poison. At the same time, Lu Yuan's expression didn't change as he watched the huge blood-red spider web come crashing down. His right hand flickered with dark golden light, and 5 sharp claws about 2.5 feet long extended. The claws flickered with icy blue and fiery red light. It was an external soul bone, the dark golden terraclaw bear's right palm bone. He waved his hand in the air, and 5 huge energy claws that were 3 meters long slashed down. The spider web was completely torn apart by these energy claws, and turned into energy that filled the sky before disappearing. At this point, Lu Yuan didn't intend to suppress his abilities, except for not using his martial soul. As long as he could use his techniques, he wouldn't hesitate to use them. Tang San's pupils shrank when he saw Lu Yuan's golden dragon armor and the sharp claws that flickered with a cold light. With his knowledge, it wasn't difficult for him to recognize that these two were soul bones. Furthermore, they were both extremely rare external soul bones. As for why he knew this, it was because he had the same thing. It was because of these things that he knew about the existence of external soul bones from the Grandmaster. He actually has 2 external soul bones. Tang San's eyes flashed with a tinge of jealousy. He was really jealous that Lu Yuan had such good luck. 4th soul skill, blue-silver cage. Tang San's 10,000-year 4th ring shone with a dim light. A black cage was instantly activated, and Lu Yuan's body was completely trapped inside. At the same time, Tang San's 5th soul ring lit up, and a pure black spear appeared in his hand. It was his 5th soul skill, blue-silver tyrant spear. When they saw that Lu Yuan was trapped by Tang San's blue-silver cage, Oslo, Graphite, and the others all launched their own attacks. At the same time, Tang San threw his blue-silver tyrant spear in Lu Yuan's direction. In an instant, an earth-shattering attack seemed to drown Lu Yuan. Bang! An explosive sound rang out, and the entire blue-silver cage exploded into pieces. He casually slapped away Oslo's attack, and then looked at the 2 tortoiseshell shields that were attacking him again. Lu Yuan waved the dark golden terraclaw in his right hand, and a sharp claw light slashed down on the 2 tortoiseshell shields. Catcher! A sharp sound rang out. Under the attack of the dark golden terraclaw, the 2 tortoiseshell shields formed from the Shi brothers' own tortoiseshell shields were cut into several pieces. The dark golden terraclaw was extremely sharp. When it came into direct contact at such a close distance, the result was obvious. The tortoiseshell shields were cut in half, and the Shi brothers, who were mentally connected to them, spat out a mouthful of blood. Both of them were severely injured. Blue-silver tyrant spear? With your blue-silver grass, this move's power is barely passable. Lu Yuan muttered softly. As he looked at the blue-silver tyrant spear that was flying towards him, his right hand flickered with light, and the dark golden terraclaw disappeared. He extended his index finger, and a bright blue light flickered on his jade-like finger. Lu Yuan lifted his finger slightly, and pointed it towards the blue-silver tyrant spear that was flying towards him. As he pointed his finger out, finger shadows seemed to appear in the air, and converged behind his ear. This finger looked very ordinary, but it carried an indescribable aura with it. He used his finger as a spear, and spear intent lingered around it. This move was called Millennium Space-Time. His fingertip flickered with blue light as it collided with the pitch-black blue-silver tyrant spear. Sparks flew in all directions, and dense energy undulations spread out. Not bad. It's a pity that it's still a little lacking. However, it's still commendable that a mere blue-silver grass can be so strong. Lu Yuan sighed softly as he felt the impact of the blue-silver tyrant spear on his finger. This spear's single-target attack wasn't weak, but it was a pity that it was only a soul skill. It only had the form, but not the spirit. This was because the owner of this soul skill didn't know anything about spears. This spear was at most like a javelin. It didn't even unleash its true power. It was a huge waste of this soul skill. Lu Yuan sighed softly. He exerted more strength in his finger, and spear intent swept out. The pitch-black blue-silver tyrant spear was destroyed by Lu Yuan's finger, and it was immediately reduced to nothingness. Chapter 7:13. He broke my blue-silver tyrant spear with a single finger. Tang San's heart was filled with shock when he saw Lu Yuan break his blue-silver tyrant spear with a single finger. The blue-silver tyrant spear was his strongest single-target attack and penetrative ability, but it couldn't even withstand a single blow from Lu Yuan. A single finger, just a light tap, and the blue-silver tyrant spear that he had placed all of his hopes on was completely shattered. Your blue-silver tyrant spear is actually very good, but it's a pity that you don't even know how to use a spear. If it were me, I would use it as a weapon, because it's not only sharp, poisonous, and has an extremely strong devouring ability, but it's also extremely compatible with your body. You can use it as an extension of your arm, so it's the most suitable weapon for you, and not just a javelin for throwing. That would be a great waste of it. However, I don't think you'll understand what I'm saying to you. After all, you're just someone who only knows how to use hidden weapons. You can't even use the king of weapons like a spear. Lu Yuan shook his head as he spoke softly. Use your true abilities. Don't try to fool me with these boring toys. Yu Tianheng, Dai Mubai, are the two of you dead? If you're not dead, then get your asses over here. As for the rest of you, don't be an eyesore here. Lu Yuan's eyes widened as his left foot tapped the ground. His body spun, and he kicked out with his right foot. The sound of bones cracking could be heard, and a figure was sent flying. Blood gushed out of his mouth, and it was the ghost leopard soul master Oaso. You've got guts, daring to ambush me. However, your idea is good, but your strength is too weak. Lu Yuan spoke plainly, and his tone was filled with disdain. Oaso's martial soul, the ghost leopard, was an agility-type martial soul that excelled in stealth. It could hide in the darkness and block the vision of others, and then circle around to launch a sneak attack without anyone noticing. But Oslo's stealth was a far cry from Zhu Zhuqing's Dark Knight stealth. Zhu Zhuqing's stealth was true invisibility, and it also blocked mental perception. Without his polychoria, Lu Yuan would have a hard time detecting Oslo. But Oslo's so-called stealth was something Lu Yuan could easily detect with his senses. Oaso dared to approach him with this kind of stealth skill? He really didn't know how to spell the word death. Lu Yuan's eyes scanned the surroundings. Since the start of the match, excluding Yi Lingling and Tang San, the wretched bastard who only knew how to hide in the back, Yu Tianheng, Dai Mubai, Graphite, Millstone, and Oslo were all seriously injured. Lu Yuan wanted to play for a while longer, and didn't want to kill them all at once. Therefore, he didn't use all his strength. However, the 5 of them weren't lightly injured. Even with Yi Lingling's full healing, it would still take some time for them to fully recover. However, Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai had already fully recovered. The 2 of them walked to Tang San's side, one on the left and one on the right. The 3 of them directly confronted Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan, we were careless just now. However, we'll show you our true improvement over the past 2 years. Dai Mubai said plainly as he looked at Lu Yuan. His eyes flickered with a bloody light. On the other hand, Yu Tianheng's eyes flashed with a gloomy glint as his aura turned gloomy. Little San, is it time? Yu Tianheng asked softly. Tang San nodded and whispered, it's time to use it. Following this, his right hand flashed, and his blue-silver grass retracted. His eyes flickered, and he slowly raised his left hand. Interesting. The evil aura is coming straight at me. As expected, 3 evil soul masters. Lu Yuan felt a strong sense of disgust from the bottom of his heart when he felt the aura from the 3 of them. Although this evil aura was very restrained, it didn't have any effect on Lu Yuan. This was because the pure energy of the heavens was naturally sensitive to evil energy. It wasn't just Lu Yuan. Even Chihiro Snow couldn't help but furrow his brows when he felt the aura from Tang San and the other 2. Evil soul masters. Qian Renshue forced these 3 words out from between her gritted teeth, her tone filled with a bone-piercing chill. Although the stage was a little far away and the evil energy from Tang San and the rest only lingered on the surface of their bodies and did not spread outwards, therefore, It was very difficult for ordinary soul masters to feel the evil energy. However, this definitely didn't include Chihiro Snow. Perhaps others only felt that the aura from Tang-san and the others were a little oppressive, but Chihiro Snow felt disgust from the bottom of his heart. It was a kind of disgust that made him want to tear them into pieces. Furthermore, she would never forget the scene in the dense fog forest. Her Ibuchi was so close to leaving her. The despair and heart-wrenching feeling when she saw Lu Yuan on the verge of death was still deeply engraved in her heart. Why did her attitude towards Lu Yuan change so drastically? She was even willing to let him find her again. Wasn't it because Lu Yuan had almost lost his life in order to save her? Was that not why she was willing to give in? If it was the Chihiro Snow of the past, would Lu Yuan dare to find another girlfriend? It would be strange if he didn't become a pig's head. I'm not very clear about Ibuchi's plan, and I don't know if all of you will die. However, I can't care so much now. Today, none of the three of you will leave. If Ibuchi doesn't kill you, I will. Evil soul masters all deserve to die. Golden flames rose in Chihiro Snow's golden eyes, and became more and more intense. Roar. Dai Mubai let out a tiger's roar, and his entire body underwent a huge change. A blood-red light started to spread from his body. His originally snow-white fur became as red as blood under this blood-red light, and he exuded a strong murderous aura. Dai Mubai's eyes were blood-red, and there was an uncontrollable frenzied killing intent in his eyes. In just a short moment, the white tiger, the martial soul of the Star Luo imperial family, had become a blood-red tiger. After turning into a blood tiger, Dai Mubai's aura rose rapidly, and he became a soul king. He wasn't inferior to Yang from the martial soul palace, and he was even a little stronger. Similarly, after Dai Mubai changed, Yu Tianheng's body also underwent a huge change. A dim light engulfed his entire body, and his originally bluish-purple scales turned pure black. Even the exploding blue lightning that enveloped his body turned black. If Dai Mubai's aura was that of a maniacal killer, then Yu Tianheng's aura was that of a dark evil spirit. When the majestic and imposing blue lightning tyrant dragon transformed into this form, the yang energy quickly dissipated, and the evil yin energy rapidly multiplied. Yu Tianheng's aura also soared, and he caught up to Dai Mubai in an instant. Evidently, he had also become a soul king. Chapter 714. A blood-red white tiger and a black-blue lightning tyrant dragon. Ah, these two have changed so thoroughly. Even their martial souls have mutated. Lu Yuan smiled and sighed as he looked at the two people in front of him. A blood-red white tiger? This is called the blood tiger that represents slaughter. In a while, you will thoroughly experience its power. Dai Mubai snorted coldly, and his blood-red eyes revealed a murderous intent. He couldn't control his emotions as he looked at Lu Yuan, who he hated to the core. Lu Yuan didn't understand Dai Mubai's words. He glanced at Yu Tianheng. My dragon is called the Dark Lightning Demonic Dragon. It's far more powerful than the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. Lu Yuan, your golden dragon is very powerful, but I want to know if it's your golden dragon or my Dark Lightning Demonic Dragon. Yu Tianheng had always remembered the humiliation of being suppressed by Lu Yuan to the point that he couldn't even crawl up from the ground. His Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon couldn't withstand a single blow from his golden dragon, but his Dark Lightning Demonic Dragon was very strong. He felt that it wasn't inferior to Lu Yuan's golden dragon at all. Lu Yuan shook his head as he listened to Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai's confident words. Are all of them brimming with confidence after becoming evil soul masters? They were being beaten up just now, and now they dare to act like they're big wolves in front of me. Their auras have only increased from peak soul ancestors to mid-level soul kings. Where do they get their confidence from? Why don't they know their limits these days? Lu Yuan couldn't be bothered with these two fellows. He turned to Tang San. He was still interested in playing with him, unlike Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng. In Lu Yuan's eyes, they were just cannon fodder. Whether it was in the past or now, and whether they had become evil soul masters or not, Lu Yuan's view of them had never changed. Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng were just fleas. He wanted to play with them now, so he let them live. However, they would die soon. Black light condensed on Tang San's left hand, and a pitch-black hammer suddenly appeared in his hand. A heavy aura suddenly appeared in the air. Heavy, and explosive. These were Lu Yuan's first impressions of the clear sky hammer. Is this the clear sky hammer? Its aura is not bad. It's stronger than the blue lightning tyrant dragon, Lu Yuan muttered as he felt the undulations from Tang San's clear sky hammer. The clear sky hammer was an absolute top-notch martial soul. It was also known as the #1 tool martial soul in the world. Its grade had already reached the peak of top-notch martial souls. It was very difficult to find a martial soul that was stronger than the clear sky hammer. Even the 7 Killings sword was only on the same level as the clear sky hammer. As for why the clear sky hammer was more famous than the 7 Killings sword, it was because there were too many people. Just like the 7 treasures glazed pagoda and the 9-hearted begonia, the 9-hearted begonia was better, but it wasn't as famous as the 7 treasures glazed pagoda. This was because there were many people in the 7 treasures glazed sect, while the 9-hearted begonia was passed down to only one person. A martial soul like the 7 Killings sword was also passed down to only one person. However, the clear sky hammer was different. Almost all the direct disciples of the clear sky sect had the clear sky hammer as their martial soul. Furthermore, the clear sky hammer's quality was very high. When it was paired with the clear sky 9 absolutes and the chaotic splitting wind hammer technique, it was very normal for it to be famous. However, it was also true that the clear sky hammer was very strong. At least, the clear sky hammer could outshine everyone else when there were no transcendent martial souls. Twin martial souls. Although Tang San's left hand had only released the clear sky hammer, and his soul rings had yet to be revealed, the knowledgeable soul masters present could tell that Tang San had twin martial souls. His second martial soul is actually the clear sky hammer. Ning Fengji muttered to himself as he sat on the throne in front of the pontiff's palace. There was a look of astonishment on his face. He didn't expect Tang Hao's son to have twin martial souls. He was indeed very talented. Can I invest in him? Just as Ning Fengji had this thought, a gaze suddenly enveloped him. The coldness in the gaze caused his heart to tremble. He turned his head slightly, and his gaze happened to meet Lu Yuan's gaze in midair. He completely saw the indifference in Lu Yuan's eyes. This was the first time he had seen such a gaze from Lu Yuan. It was indifferent, emotionless, and had a strong sense of majesty. His heart trembled, and the thought that had just arisen in his heart disappeared. I almost forgot. Tang San and Ibuchi are sworn enemies. Wouldn't investing in Tang San be going against Ibuchi? Furthermore, Ibuchi also has twin martial souls. His strength is much stronger than Tang San's. I almost made a fool of myself just now. Ning Fengji secretly sighed. He understood Lu Yuan's gaze just now. It was a warning, and at the same time, a threat. He was warning him not to have any thoughts that he shouldn't have. Otherwise, the consequences would not be good. Since Ibuchi and Tang San have a grudge, I can only choose Ibuchi. However, there is one thing I'm puzzled about. How did Ibuchi know that I would have the thought of investing in Tang San? Has his understanding of me reached such a level? Ning Fengji was shocked. He realized that he might have underestimated Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan was much more powerful than he had imagined. Lu Yuan calmly retracted his gaze. His expression was somewhat cold. He knew that Ning Fengji liked to bet on both sides. After seeing Tang San's talent, he couldn't help but want to invest. Hence, when Tang San revealed his twin martial souls, he immediately warned Ning Fengji. He believed that with Ning Fengji's intelligence and wisdom, he would make a wise choice after receiving his warning. Want to bet on both sides? Dream on. The only thing Ning Fengji could do was to follow him to the end. Otherwise, if Ning Fengji dared to support Tang San and oppose him, he couldn't guarantee what he would do. For Ning Rongrong's sake, he didn't want to go to that step. His gaze shifted slightly, and his dual pupils focused on Tang San. When the clear sky hammer appeared on Tang San's left hand, soul rings appeared one by one below Tang San's body. Black, 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 black. Starting from the first soul ring, it was a deep black color. 5 black soul rings rippled beneath Tang San's body. Tang San's aura instantly soared when these 5 black soul rings appeared. He directly broke through the barrier between Soul King and Soul Emperor, and rose to the realm of a low-level soul sage. As he held the clear sky hammer in his hand, Tang San's eyes shone brightly. This strong strength made him feel a little intoxicated. Originally, he was still a little afraid and wary of Lu Yuan. However, at this moment, he was filled with confidence. As he waved his clear sky hammer, he dared to fight head-on with Lu Yuan. Chapter 7:15. Lu Yuan, do you dare to fight me? Tang San raised his clear sky hammer with his left hand and exuded a strong fighting spirit. When he had the blue-silver grass in his hand, he was very cautious. When he saw Lu Yuan, he immediately distanced himself and hid behind his teammates. Then, he secretly used a skill to launch a sneak attack. When he held the clear sky hammer in his hand, his heart was filled with fighting spirit. That strong force made him want to rush out and fight a few hundred rounds with Lu Yuan. This was the effect of different martial souls on a person's mentality. For example, Lu Yuan's Golden Dragon martial soul's bloodline had a huge impact on him. Not only did his character become more arrogant, even his mentality had changed. He was not interested in weaklings anymore. In the past, he would not have had such a mentality. It seems like you are very confident. Do you think you can rely on these 5 soul rings that are at least 12,000 years old and 25,000 years old? Twin martial souls are in your hands. It's really a waste. Most twin-souled soul masters would only add a soul ring to their second martial soul after they become a titled Douluo. Even the weakest soul master would want a soul beast that was at least 50,000 years old, and the best would be 100,000 years old. And you chose 5 such low-ranked soul rings so hastily, completely stifling the unlimited potential of a twin martial soul, yet you're still so complacent. You're really making me laugh my head off. Is this how your teacher taught you? Oh, that's right. With his rank 29 strength, he probably thinks that 10,000-year soul rings are very impressive. After all, he is weak and has low standards. I can't expect too much from him, right? Lu Yuan curled his lips and said casually, "You." Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Tang San was stunned. He originally thought that his clear sky hammer would be enough to shock Lu Yuan with the combination of his clear sky hammer and 10,000-year soul rings. However, he didn't expect that not only was Lu Yuan not shocked at all, but he even mocked him directly. Moreover, what he said was very reasonable, leaving him unable to refute. Below the stage, Yu Xiaogong's expression was also ugly. Lu Yuan's words were like a slap to his face. His expectations for Tang San had originally been to have a full 10,000-year soul ring. Therefore, after Tang San's 4th soul ring had absorbed a 10,000-year soul ring, he had chosen to cultivate the clear sky hammer. After all, even if it was a little young, it was still a 10,000-year soul beast. 10,000 years added together, that was also an extremely terrifying force. However, when he heard Lu Yuan's words today, he really felt a little embarrassed. Lu Yuan was also a twin martial soul, but he was pursuing a soul ring that was at least 50,000 years or even 100,000 years. However, the disciples he taught only had 10 to 20,000 years of soul rings. This disparity was obvious. One only cared about what was in front of him, while the other focused on truly unleashing the unlimited potential of twin martial souls. The two people's perspectives were not on the same level. TSK, I thought they were very powerful. Two narrow-minded guys. In the waiting area, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but curl her lips and say disdainfully. In the beginning, she was really a little surprised by Tang San's twin martial souls and 10,000-year soul rings. After all, it looked quite frightening. However, after hearing Lu Yuan's explanation, her surprise turned into disdain. Tang San was completely wasting his twin martial souls. Was 10,000-year soul ring so amazing? 5 or 6 10,000-year soul rings added together couldn't compare to a 100,000-year soul ring. It was very difficult to use quantity to make up for the difference in quality. Tang San is simply not a match for Ibuchi. Not to mention that his 5 soul rings are all 10 to 20,000 years. Even if they were all 50,000-year soul rings, they would still be nothing compared to Ibuchi's soul ring combination. Chihiro Snow opened his mouth and said indifferently, "Really? Ibuchi's soul ring combination is so high?" After hearing Chihiro Snow's words, Ning Rongrong immediately became interested. "You'll know in a while. Ibuchi should be releasing his martial soul in a while. When that time comes, everyone will definitely be shocked." Chihiro Snow said. "Is that so? Then I really can't wait to see that scene." Ning Rongrong smiled sweetly. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, the entire audience recovered from their shock. Each and every one of them couldn't help but have mocking and regretful expressions on their faces. They were mocking Grandmaster, but regretting Tang San's talent. Twin martial souls, a talent that was hard to come by in 100 years, was actually wasted just like that. "Your Holiness, is Hallmaster Lu speaking the truth?" In front of the Pontiff's palace, Ning Fengji looked at Bibidon and asked. After all, Bibidon was the only known person in the world who had successfully cultivated twin martial souls. Therefore, her words were more convincing than Lu Yuan's. "It's true. It's a pity for Tang San. His twin martial souls are already wasted. Other than the fact that the first 5 soul rings of the Clear Sky Hammer are too young, he hasn't solved the problem of cultivating twin martial souls. In the future, he can only cultivate his blue-silver grass martial soul. As long as he adds another soul ring to his Clear Sky Hammer, his entire body will explode and he will die. His future is bleak." Bibidon shook her head and said softly, "So it's like that." Ning Fengji nodded. In her heart, she completely eliminated the idea of betting on Tang San. How could such a guy with a bleak future be compared with little Yuan, who was brimming with talent? Even a fool would know what to do in this multiple-choice question. Tang San gritted his teeth as he looked at the mocking and regretful gazes of the crowd below the stage. He was furious. What he wanted was to be shocked. He wanted to see the shocked expressions of the entire audience, not the mocking and regretful gazes. It was all because of this guy in front of him. Lu Yuan, die. First soul skill, Clear Sky Shock. Tang San shouted. The Clear Sky Hammer in his hand suddenly became bigger and smashed towards Lu Yuan's head. At the same time, Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng also attacked Lu Yuan. Angry out of humiliation, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. He clenched his right fist and punched towards the Clear Sky Hammer that was coming towards him. As he punched out, there was an explosion in the air. Lu Yuan's small and white fist collided with the huge black Clear Sky Hammer. Bang! As the fist and the Clear Sky Hammer collided, there was a huge sound. After that, Tang San's body was sent flying along with the huge Clear Sky Hammer. The intense recoil caused Tang San to spit out a mouthful of blood. So what if it was a full 10,000-year Clear Sky Hammer? So what if its aura was comparable to a low-tier soul sage? It was still a matter of one punch. Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng, who were about to pounce over, saw Tang San being sent flying with a single punch. They couldn't help but freeze. There was a look of astonishment in their eyes. Suddenly, the two of them flew back at the same time. It was as if they had suffered a heavy blow. The audience focused their gazes and saw Lu Yuan's figure slowly appear at the spot where the two of them had been standing just a moment ago. Chapter 716. You dare to be distracted while fighting with me? You're really courting death. Lu Yuan's figure appeared, and an indifferent voice came out from his mouth. Lu Yuan's expression was grave, and there was a trace of coldness in his eyes. Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng, these two trash, were really interesting. They clearly knew that he was strong, but they still had the mind to care about others. They really didn't know how to write the word death. Little San, seeing that Tang San was sent flying by Lu Yuan's punch and vomited blood, the Grandmaster couldn't help but stand up and exclaim in surprise. There was a trace of disbelief in his expression. This didn't make sense. Tang San's Clear Sky Hammer martial soul was originally strong, and after adding 5 10,000-year soul rings, It reached a weight of 1,500 kilograms. In addition to Tang San's full strength, his aura was comparable to a low-level soul sage, and he even used the 10,000-year soul skill of his first soul ring. Even if Lu Yuan was strong and Tang San wasn't his opponent, it shouldn't be like this. He sent Tang San flying with a single punch and even injured him. They weren't on the same level at all. How strong exactly was Lu Yuan? Could it be that he had already surpassed the category of soul sage? The Grandmaster found it hard to understand. This was impossible. Lu Yuan was only 14 years old. According to his previous cultivation speed, he was at most a soul king. A soul king comparable to a soul Douluo? The Grandmaster didn't believe it. He felt that Tang San must have underestimated Lu Yuan and didn't use his full strength. Yes, it must be like this. Ah, I knew it. My Hall Master is invincible among the younger generation. So what if Tang San has twin martial souls? So what if he has 10,000-year soul rings? He still can't block a single punch from my Hall Master. Seeing that Lu Yuan sent Tang San flying with a single punch, a smile quickly appeared on Douluo's face as he chuckled. Indeed, Abuchi's strength is very strong. Oh right, Elder Douluo, I remember that Abuchi also has twin martial souls. Ning Fengji nodded his head, expressing his approval of Douluo's words. At the same time, he revealed the matter of Lu Yuan's twin martial spirits, while paying attention to Bibidan's expression from the corner of his eyes. Sure enough, after hearing Ning Fengji's words, Bibidan's pretty face didn't change, but her jade-like hand holding the scepter couldn't help but tighten a little. Ning Fengji couldn't help but reveal a faint smile at the sight of this. He wanted Bibidan to be wary of Lu Yuan and the Dragon King Palace. Only in this way could Lu Yuan and the Dragon King Palace be on the same side as the Seven Treasures glazed sect. It had to be said that Ning Fengji was indeed a person with a lot of thoughts. If one was not careful, one might really fall into his trap. It was just a pity that regardless of whether it was Lu Yuan or Bibidan, their scheming was the best and not the slightest bit inferior to Ning Fengji. Moreover, now that Lu Yuan and Bibidan had joined forces, even if Ning Fengji was smart, he was still trapped in the chessboard because he had too little information. That's right. Our palace master naturally has twin martial spirits, and both of his martial spirits are extremely powerful. It's just that the people on the stage are too trashy. They can't even force out our palace master's first martial spirit. Douluo shook his head, his tone carrying a trace of contempt. Over the past 2 years, he had become Lu Yuan's loyal supporter because everything that Lu Yuan had shown had already conquered him. Moreover, Douluo could also see through Ning Fengji's thoughts, but he didn't care because he personally didn't like the martial soul palace very much. He changed his tone and said with a smile, "My Hall Master doesn't only know how to fight, he also knows very well about theory. He has already solved the problem of cultivating twin martial spirits. Compared to the so-called Master Tang Sanhe, he is much more powerful." Is that so? That Hall Master Lu is truly a young hero. Hearing Douluo's words, Bibidan's eyes were calm and his tone was indifferent, but there was a faint chill in his tone. Seeing this, Ning Fengji and Douluo looked at each other and revealed a trace of a smile at the same time. Lu Yuan, die. Third soul skill, Blood Tiger Devil God transformation. On the stage, Dai Mubai roared, his body releasing a bloody light. After mutating into a blood tiger, his third soul skill had changed. Blood Tiger Shockwave. Dai Mubai opened his mouth and a bloody light wave flew directly towards Lu Yuan. With a slap of his hand, Lu Yuan shattered the blood-red shockwave. His figure flashed forward and instantly appeared in front of Dai Mubai. With one hand, he grabbed Dai Mubai's blood-red arm and viciously twisted it. The right arm that had just been healed by Yi Lingling was once again broken by Lu Yuan. Dai Mubai's right arm was twisted and an intense pain assaulted his heart. Just as he was about to scream, Lu Yuan slapped Dai Mubai's face. Immediately, Dai Mubai's right cheek swelled up and his snow-white teeth flew out. Following this, Lu Yuan grabbed Dai Mubai's long golden hair and smashed his head onto the ground. With a loud bang, thick blood flowed out of Dai Mubai's head. Under this blow, his head was smashed out of shape, and Dai Mubai immediately fainted. Mubai. Seeing Dai Mubai in such a miserable state, Yu Tianheng was enraged and the dark light in his eyes intensified. Don't worry, he's not dead. He can still be saved. Lu Yuan said indifferently. He waved his hand and threw Dai Mubai's body to Yi Lingling's side. Although Dai Mubai was in a miserable state, Yi Lingling's nine-hearted begonia could heal him. Lu Yuan, give me your life. Seeing Dai Mubai in such a miserable state, Yu Tianheng roared and his fourth soul ring lit up. Fourth soul skill, Dark Lightning Demonic Dragons Devour. Pure black lightning emitted a dense dark aura. A roaring dark lightning dragon condensed in Yu Tianheng's hand and emitted a terrifying energy fluctuation. Lu Yuan, die. Yu Tianheng pushed his hands forward, and a dragon's roar rang out. The pure black dark lightning dragon carried with it a sinister and explosive power as it viciously attacked Lu Yuan. Third soul skill, Demonic Flame Hammer. At this moment, Tang San followed closely behind. The black clear sky hammer had a black tail of flames as it descended from the sky and was aimed at Lu Yuan. Interesting. Lu Yuan laughed at first. After that, he retracted his smile and looked indifferent. He clenched his right hand into a fist and a faint golden light circulated around it. Bang! With just one punch, the frightening dark lightning dragon was completely destroyed. After that, Lu Yuan didn't stop. He moved forward and his fist collided with Tang San's clear sky hammer. The fist and hammer collided once again. Lu Yuan's immense strength was unleashed, and the clear sky hammer produced a huge rebound force. Tang San didn't hold it tightly and the clear sky hammer flew out of his hand. His body was also sent flying. Lu Yuan's figure flashed and he grabbed Tang San's right leg before smashing it down. Boom! Under Lu Yuan's immense strength, Tang San was sent flying into the arena. This arena, which could withstand the attacks of soul sages without being damaged, had a huge hole in it from Lu Yuan's attack. Suddenly, rocks flew everywhere and dust filled the sky. Chapter 717. Little San. Seeing Tang San being blasted into the arena, Yu Xiaogang stood up abruptly and let out a cry of surprise. His expression was filled with worry and disbelief. He didn't expect Tang San to be no match for Lu Yuan. Tang San used his third 10,000-year soul skill to launch a sneak attack when Yu Tianheng's Dark Lightning Dragon Devour was attacking from the front. He could clearly see that Tang San didn't hold back at all. Instead, he used all his strength. However, Lu Yuan still punched him. First, he destroyed Yu Tianheng's Dark Lightning Dragon Devour. Then, he blasted Tang San's clear sky hammer out of his hand. What was even more ridiculous was that the arena that the Martial Soul Palace claimed to be able to withstand a Soul Sage's attack was actually blasted into a huge hole by Lu Yuan. Tang San was even directly thrown into the hole. If the arena was already damaged to this extent, what kind of injuries would Tang San suffer? Yu Xiaogang's heart trembled. If something happened to Tang San, then who would be able to prove his theory? Aside from his theory, he didn't have anything left. Did he have any affection for Tang San? There was no doubt that he did. After all, people's hearts were made of flesh. After interacting with each other for a long time, there would definitely be some affection. Tang San was also Yu Xiaogang's only disciple. Naturally, he had feelings for Tang San. However, what was more important was his theory. He originally valued his theory very much. Now that he didn't even have the symbol of a man, he valued his theory even more. The reason why he directly ignored Liu Erlong and showed no attachment to her was because he was a eunuch. To a eunuch, no matter how beautiful Liu Erlong was or how hot her figure was, he wouldn't be interested in her. Therefore, it was normal for Yu Xiaogang to not pay attention to Liu Erlong. However, Tang San was different. He was his only hope now. If something happened to him, it meant that no one could prove his theory. Then, he would really collapse. Yu Xiaogang was worried, but the audience was different. They were more shocked. This was the second time that the arena had been broken, and both times it was done by Lu Yuan. In any case, Lu Yuan's violent reputation had been deeply rooted in the hearts of the audience. Amazing, my junior brother. In a corner of the spectator area, a group of people had gathered. It was Hulena, Evil Moon, and the others. Except for Yang, who was absent, the rest were all present. The reason Yang wasn't here was because his injuries hadn't healed yet. Although Lu Yuan hadn't crippled him, it was impossible for him to be as lively as a dragon and as lively as a tiger again if he didn't lie down for 8 or 9 days. At this moment, Hulena's red lips opened slightly when she saw Lu Yuan grab Tang San and throw him down. After that, he blasted a huge hole in the arena. She was secretly amazed. "How is it, brother?" "Lu Yuan's strength isn't too bad, right?" Hulena smiled gently as she looked at Evil Moon. "Of course it's not too bad. His attack has exceeded the range of a soul sage. Otherwise, this arena wouldn't have been broken. I'm really glad that I'm your brother. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll be in trouble if I meet him," Evil Moon said softly. There was a trace of amazement in his eyes. Lu Yuan's strength had really shocked him. His strength was terrifying. Furthermore, he hadn't even released his martial soul. Evil Moon's pupils shrank as he thought of this. He looked at Lu Yuan as if he were looking at a monster. "Hehe, that's right. If you weren't my brother, he wouldn't even look at you, let alone give you pointers." Hulena giggled. There was a trace of joy in her tone. Lu Yuan had given Evil Moon pointers on the path of the artistic conception because of her. She was very happy in her heart. Evil Moon's mouth twitched when he heard this. He looked at his sister with a strange expression. "Even if it's true, you don't have to say it out loud. It's very hurtful, you know?" Hulena didn't care about her brother's gaze at all. There was still a smile on her pretty face. Her pair of beautiful big eyes stared unblinkingly at Lu Yuan in the arena. There was a strong surge of affection in her eyes. Sigh. Xieyue sighed helplessly. Seeing his sister like this, her heart had really been completely stolen by Lu Yuan. The two of them were very compatible in terms of appearance and talent. However, their identities were a big problem. How could the Pope allow his beloved disciple to marry the Dragon King Palace's lord? It was very difficult for his sister to achieve good things. Evil Moon sighed in his heart. His eyes also moved to the arena. In the arena, Lu Yuan landed gently. With a gentle wave of his sleeve, all the smoke and dust were swept away. The big hole in the arena was clearly revealed. "Xiao San!" Yu Tianheng exclaimed. He hurried forward to check the situation. Suddenly, Yu Tianheng paused. Lu Yuan grabbed his neck with one hand and lifted him up in the air as if he were a chick. Yu Tianheng's face was flushed. This was caused by the difficulty of breathing, the impediment of blood circulation, and congestion. He waved his arms and grasped Lu Yuan's hand tightly. He struggled hard. His legs kept kicking, trying to get rid of Lu Yuan's hand. However, no matter how hard he struggled, Lu Yuan's hand was like iron. He didn't move at all. Trash. A trace of disdain flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes. He threw Yu Tianheng aside. Looking at the big hole not far away, Lu Yuan's eyes flickered. With a suction force from his palm, Tang San's body flew out directly. Just as Tang San was about to fall into Lu Yuan's hands like Yu Tianheng, Tang San's figure suddenly stopped. The blood-red wings on his back flapped, and his whole person directly escaped from Lu Yuan's suction force. He flew to a place not far away and landed. Tang San's face was very pale. Blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth. He looked like he was seriously injured, but he didn't faint. Interesting. It seems that the infernal demonic spider's wings have blocked a lot of damage for you. Looking at Tang San's appearance, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Hearing this, Tang San was silent. He only looked at Lu Yuan with an abnormally serious expression. He originally thought that even if his strength wasn't as good as Lu Yuan's, it wouldn't be too far off. However, after exchanging blows, it was completely different. He wasn't Lu Yuan's opponent at all. Even with his full strength, he was still as powerless as a child in Lu Yuan's hands. What else could he rely on to defeat Lu Yuan? Wild hammering skill. That thing needed to be stacked in order to unleash its power. However, in Lu Yuan's hands, he couldn't even take a punch. How could he stack it? Using that thing against Lu Yuan was simply courting death. Seeing that Tang San wasn't seriously injured in the ring, Yu Xiaogang first heaved a sigh of relief. However, when he saw that Tang San seemed to be thinking about how to defeat Lu Yuan, he became anxious and couldn't help but shout, "Xiao San, don't hesitate. Hurry up and use the 7 as 1. Chapter 718. Little San, don't hesitate anymore. Hurry up and use the 7-person fusion skill. Seeing that Tang San was still hesitating, as if he wanted to rely on his own strength to defeat Lu Yuan, the Grandmaster became anxious and hurriedly shouted. He had been thoroughly frightened by Lu Yuan's display of strength. He had casually used one hand to toy with Tang San, who had activated all of his 10,000-year soul rings. He had also blasted a huge hole in the arena, which was strong enough to withstand a Soul Sage's attack. This strength was far from something that Tang San and the others could defeat alone. Even if Tang San and the others joined forces, it would still be the same. The previous battle had completely proven this point. Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng's martial souls had both changed, and their strength had increased greatly. Tang San had even used his 10,000-year clear sky hammer and unleashed the skill of his 10,000-year soul rings. But so what? He was still beaten up by Lu Yuan single-handedly. There was really no suspense at all. The two of them were not on the same level at all. If they continued to fight, it would only be a waste of time, and they would also be severely injured. Only by joining forces and using the 7-person fusion skill would they have a chance of victory. Although Yu Xiaogang was no longer that confident of winning, he still had a chance. Could the 7-person fusion skill really defeat Lu Yuan? Yu Xiaogang was not sure, but he was certain that Tang San and the others were their last hope. How dare you speak without permission and affect the competition? The moment Yu Xiaogang spoke, the red-robed bishop immediately reprimanded him. According to the rules of the competition, once the competition officially began, the instructors of both sides could no longer open their mouths to give pointers to their contestants. Otherwise, it would be a violation of the rules of the competition. Huyan Zhan had once given pointers to Huyan Li during the qualifiers in the Heaven-Do district. Logically speaking, this was also a violation of the rules, but Huyan Zhan had used secret voice transmission, and it was done secretly, so no one discovered it. On the other hand, Yu Xiaogang's cultivation level was low. He was only at level 29, so he did not know how to use secret voice sending at all. Shouting like that was completely against the rules of the competition, so the red-robed bishop scolded him on the spot. Yu Xiaogang's body stiffened at the reprimand. In his moment of excitement, he'd forgotten about this. Breaking the rules of the competition was punishable by punishment. If he didn't handle it well, the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy's team might lose their right to compete. Thinking of this, he panicked a little. Only this once. If there is a next time, the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy will be disqualified. Bibidan's indifferent voice rang out. "Thank you, Your Holiness." Hearing Bibidan's words, Yu Xiaogang was overjoyed. He bowed on the spot, and his stiff face thawed a little, revealing an ugly smile. "It looks like Dong still has me in her heart. Last time, I was too harsh with my words, and I haven't seen her for 20 years. That's why she chased me out. In reality, she still loves me. The next time I see her, I just have to say some nice words and coax her. I'll definitely be able to obtain the secret of twin martial souls from her. That way, Little 3 will be able to continue cultivating the clear sky hammer." Yu Xiaogang thought to himself. What he didn't know was that the reason Bibidan didn't make a fuss about it and allowed the competition to continue was because he wanted to see the next step of his disciple's performance. This was her disciple. In front of everyone's eyes, he was in high spirits, easily defeating all his opponents. Her heart was filled with pride. As for Yu Xiaogang, sorry, Bibi Dong said that he couldn't remember it at the moment. After experiencing the collapse of his image several times, in addition to Bibidan's self-awakening, Yu Xiaogang's position in Bibidan's heart was getting lower and lower. Not to mention Lu Yuan, he was far inferior to Hulena and Chihiro Snow. If he were to experience one or two more blows to his image, or if Lu Yuan were to whisper in Bibidon's ear again, Yu Xiaogang would be completely removed from Bibidon's heart. In Bibidon's heart, the most important person right now was undoubtedly Lu Yuan. This was because Lu Yuan understood her the most and understood her pain the most. He didn't hold anything back from her. In her heart, other than the feelings of a disciple to Lu Yuan, there was also a kind of dependence that she couldn't explain. After her was Hulena. She had raised Hulena as her own daughter, and she had been by her side longer than Lu Yuan. In Bibidon's heart, Hulena was her daughter. After that was Chihiro Snow, the daughter that she loathed. As for Yu Xiaogang, in Bibidon's heart, his position should be slightly higher than the chrysanthemum Douluo's. As for the future, it was hard to say. Phew. After hearing Bibidon's words, everyone from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy heaved a sigh of relief. They were also afraid of being disqualified. 7 as 1. Tang San couldn't help but mutter to himself as he looked at Lu Yuan. Yu Xiaogang's words were the last straw that made him give up on the idea of fighting Lu Yuan alone. He had to admit that even though he cultivated twin martial souls, even though he had 5 10,000-year soul rings, and even though he didn't hesitate to step onto the path of no return to increase his soul power, he was still far behind Lu Yuan in terms of strength. There was unwillingness, resentment, and even jealousy. However, none of these could close the gap between him and Lu Yuan. He knew all of this, but he refused to accept it. He had to defeat Lu Yuan once. This was the only thought in his heart right now. Change formation, 7 as 1, Tang San ordered. The Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team quickly got into formation. Yi Lingling was at the end of the line. In front of her was Oslo, and in front of Oslo was Shamo. After that was Shamo, Dai Mubai, Yu Tianheng, and finally Tang San. After Yi Lingling's treatment, Dai Mubai had already recovered. It had to be said that the nine-hearted begonia was truly amazing. Its healing effects were extraordinary. However, Yi Lingling's face was also slightly pale. From the start of the match until now, she had healed Dai Mubai so many times. Although only Dai Mubai was seriously injured, she had already lost more than half of her soul power. If Tang San continued fighting, Yi Lingling's soul power wouldn't be enough to use the 7 as 1. The 7 of them stood in a row, but didn't move. This was because the 7 as 1 needed time to prepare. They had to ensure that Lu Yuan would give them the time to do so. Lu Yuan, you'll keep your word, right? Tang San asked indifferently as he looked at Lu Yuan. Of course, I'll keep my word. I didn't expect your trump card to be the 7 as 1. There's really nothing new about it. However, out of respect for my opponents, you've already used your trump card. It's not good for me to not show my gratitude. Speaking of which, do you want to see my martial soul? Chapter 719. Looking at Tang San and the others, Lu Yuan's lips curled up slightly, and a smile appeared on his face as he asked softly, "Do you guys want to see my martial soul?" Hearing this, Tang San's expression turned cold, and his heart trembled slightly. He didn't know why, but when he heard this sentence, he had a bad premonition in his heart, as if something unexpected would happen. This feeling made Tang San feel very uncomfortable. Abuchi's martial soul? Could it be that Abuchi is finally going to release his martial soul this time? In front of the pontiff's palace, after hearing Lu Yuan's words, Ning Fengji couldn't help but ask. His eyes were filled with curiosity. Ever since they parted at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, he hadn't seen Lu Yuan fight with his martial soul. I heard from Rongrong that Abuchi's first 4 soul rings were yellow, purple, and black. Then his 5th soul ring should be at least 50,000 years old. Ning Fengji secretly guessed. Is the Hall Master going to release his martial soul? Won't they be scared to death this time? The Hall Master's 4th soul ring is 60 to 70,000 years old. Won't his 5th and 6th soul rings be 80 to 90,000 years old, with a hint of red in the black? TSK, this combination, and it's his first martial soul. It's really amazing, my Hall Master. Dugu Bo chuckled softly. Release his martial soul? Is Abuchi finally going to release his martial soul? Ning Rongrong's ice-blue eyes stared unblinkingly at Lu Yuan. She was rather curious about Lu Yuan's martial soul ring combination. She really wanted to know how old Lu Yuan's 5th and 6th soul rings were. Is it finally coming? Abuchi, you're really good at hiding. But this time, you'll completely shock them, and let them know what a true genius is. As she thought to herself, Chihiro Snow's golden eyes flickered. She knew that her man would completely shine in the world today, and announce to everyone who was the continent's #1 genius. At the same time, Bibidon, Hulena, Zhu Zhuqing, and everyone else present gathered their gazes on Lu Yuan. They all wanted to know what kind of shocking martial soul ring combination this person had, who had dominated all the way until now without his martial soul. Being watched by everyone, Lu Yuan's expression didn't change at all. His clear breath sutra soul power quickly, and a bright golden light's body. A resonant dragon's roar, and a fierce aura like an ancient beast awakened, and a fierce aura's ferocious aura caused Tang and's not far away, Tang-san and the rest, who weren't far away, Tang and the others and the rest, who weren't far away to them, and the others, who wasn't and the others to the two to their twos. Golden light flickered, and a huge golden dragon roared towards the sky behind Lu Yuan's back. Diamond-shaped golden scales began to crawl all over his body, and his hands, which were as smooth as jade, turned into sharp dragon claws covered in dazzling golden scales. Behind his back, a huge pair of golden dragon wings stretched out slightly. At the same time, golden scales crawled on both sides of Lu Yuan's cheeks, and between his eyebrows, a golden diamond-shaped dragon scale shone with a bright golden light. The aura of a golden dragon instantly filled the air. Lu Yuan's double pupils flickered, and he took light steps forward. First step. Purple. A purple soul ring appeared below Lu Yuan's body. His first soul ring came from the top-ranked soul beast, the sky-raising demon ape, and it was 6,300 years old. Second step. Purple. His second soul ring appeared. This time, it wasn't just purple. To be more precise, it was purplish-black. His second soul ring came from the super soul beast, the golden-armored dragon turtle, and it was 9,000 years old. Third step. Black. A dim light flickered, and his third soul ring appeared. It was a pure black soul ring. His third soul ring came from the super soul beast, the dark golden terraclaw bear, and it was 20,500 years old. Fourth step. Black. This was an extremely deep soul ring. His fourth soul ring was a limitless 10,000-year soul ring, and it was 70,500 years old. Fifth step. With his fifth step, Lu Yuan's body surged with a berserk aura. The roar of a dragon resounded, and an invisible aura swept through the entire arena, causing Tang-san and the rest to feel suffocated. At the same time, a red light flashed, and a demonic blood-red soul ring suddenly appeared below Lu Yuan's body, emitting an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation. His fifth soul ring came from the super soul beast, the Titan giant ape, and it was a legendary existence. Sixth step. With this step, the aura on Lu Yuan's body seemed to condense into a substance. The whistling of the wind could be heard in the air. This was the rise of his aura, forming a whirlwind. The dense blood-red light below Lu Yuan's body began to condense, and an even stronger aura began to brew. The blood-red light became denser, and finally, it formed a blood-red soul ring. On top of the soul ring, there were two resplendent golden patterns. His sixth soul ring, a soul ring bestowed by the gods. It was the only soul ring in the Douluo continent, and it was 250,000 years old. With his sixth step, Lu Yuan's soul ring was completely revealed to everyone. Purple, purple, black, black, red, and red. This was the soul ring combination of Lu Yuan's first martial soul, the Golden Dragon. Lightly flinging his sleeves, Lu Yuan placed his hands behind his back, and his expression was indifferent. The aura of the Golden Dragon was released from his body without restraint, and it instantly filled the entire arena. Dong, dong, dong. A series of kneeling sounds rang out. Under Lu Yuan's surging aura, the 7 people from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy immediately knelt down. Yu Tianheng couldn't bear it, and his entire body was prostrated on the ground. Even the leader, Tang San, knelt on one knee, and used both hands to hold onto his clear sky hammer to support his body. Lu Yuan's aura was too terrifying, and they couldn't bear it at all. If Tang Hao's murderous aura in the original novel could be said to have materialized, then Lu Yuan's aura could be said to have materialized as well. This is impossible. Under Lu Yuan's aura, Tang San found it too difficult to withstand. His face was flushed red, and he gritted his teeth. The veins on his neck were exposed, but his eyes were fixed on Lu Yuan's soul rings, especially the two blood-red soul rings. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Seeing Lu Yuan's 6 soul rings, Yu Xiaogang suddenly stood up. He clenched his fists, and his nails dug into his flesh, causing blood to drip from the gaps between his fingers. However, he didn't notice it at all. His expression was exceptionally ferocious, and the 2 blood-red soul rings had completely stimulated his nerves, causing him to roar hysterically. 200,000-year soul rings? Seeing Lu Yuan's soul ring combination, Ning Fengji's eyes widened, and they were filled with shock. He guessed that Lu Yuan's 5th soul ring should be at least 50,000 years, but he didn't expect Lu Yuan's 5th soul ring to be a 100,000-year soul ring. What was even more shocking was that Lu Yuan was actually a soul emperor, and his 6th soul ring was also a 100,000-year soul ring. A soul emperor with 200,000-year soul rings? Who has heard of such a thing? Is he still human? Ning Fengji thought to himself. Chapter 720. Ouch. Seeing the combination of Lu Yuan's soul rings, Douluo, who was stroking his beard, couldn't help but tear off his beard and immediately let out a miserable scream. However, his eyes were still fixed on the 2 blood-red soul rings on Lu Yuan's body, and he didn't want to shift his gaze away for a moment. 200,000-year soul rings. Douluo's eyes carried a trace of sluggishness, then quickly returned to normal, and was replaced by a strong sense of ecstasy. As expected of my hall master, he's indeed an extraordinary person. Douluo sighed in admiration, his face full of pride. Purple, purple, black, black, red, and red. Oh my god. Seeing the combination of Lu Yuan's soul rings, Ning Rongrong's tender red lips couldn't help but turn into an O shape. Although she had already guessed that Lu Yuan's soul ring combination would be even higher, it still exceeded her expectations. 200,000-year soul rings. Lu Yuan actually had 200,000-year soul rings. She couldn't quite wrap her head around it. However, like Douluo, Ning Rongrong was first stunned, then a hint of ecstasy surged in her eyes, and her face was full of pride. Lu Yuan was her boyfriend. Sister Cher, Zhu Qing, did you know beforehand about Abuchi's soul ring combination? Did you know that he has a 100,000-year soul ring? Ning Rongrong couldn't help but ask Chihiro Snow and Zhu Qing, who were beside her. The 2 girls nodded lightly. How is it? Are you very surprised? Chihiro Snow asked with a light smile. More than surprised, it's simply shocking. However, after the shock, I'm happy. Abuchi is amazing, he far surpasses others. Ning Rongrong said with a face full of pride. Indeed, he's a genius that far surpasses the imagination of others. Looking at Lu Yuan on the stage, Chihiro Snow whispered softly, her eyes filled with deep affection and satisfaction. Lu Yuan had never disappointed her before. Looking at Lu Yuan, Chihiro Snow's gaze shifted to Bibidon. Your disciple is so outstanding, you should be very happy now. Chihiro Snow thought to herself. Just as Chihiro Snow thought, although Bibidon was at a loss, there was a deep sense of gratification and satisfaction in the depths of her eyes. Lu Yuan was her most beloved disciple, and also her greatest pride. He was like a fully grown true dragon, and now was roaming the 9 heavens, enjoying the people's worship. In front of him, Tang San, Dai Mubai, Yu Tianheng, the Golden Generation? What did they count for? In fact, they were nothing. Abuchi. Bibidon whispered softly in her heart, looking at Lu Yuan not far away, a touch of gentleness flashed across her eyes. Amazing, junior brother. Helena's eyes flashed with a trace of infatuation, and her face was full of pride and joy. She secretly looked at Evil Moon beside her, only to see that he was already like the audience, with his eyes wide open and a look of shock. The appearance of Lu Yuan's soul ring did not bring about a commotion, but silence, because all the audience had been shocked speechless. However, the shock would always pass, and when the audience came back to their senses, the sound of inhaling cold air and incredulous exclamations could be heard. Then the audience's cheers became completely enthusiastic. It could be said that the appearance of Lu Yuan's soul ring had completely ignited the atmosphere of the entire arena. How is it? My soul ring combination is passable, right? Looking down at Tang San, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Impossible, impossible, you must have used some kind of trick. How can you have 100,000-year soul ring? Tang San supported the clear sky hammer with both hands. Although his face was red due to Lu Yuan's pressure and his body was trembling, he still did not move his gaze away. He roared loudly, not daring to believe what he saw. How could it be? He only obtained a full 10,000-year soul ring combination after cultivating his twin martial souls at the same time, but Lu Yuan, a golden dragon, has 200,000-year soul rings? He absolutely did not believe that this was fake. This must be fake. Trick. Haha, you and Yu Xiaogang are the same kind of people. Your vision is not broad enough, and when you see something beyond your imagination, you will suspect that it is fake. However, this world is vast, and anything can happen. Your so-called vision is just looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. Or maybe you have the pitiful mentality of a weakling, and are unwilling to accept the fact that others are stronger than you. You must know that just because you can't do it, doesn't mean that others can't. Look at your pitiful appearances. You can't even stand up, and you want to fight me? You overestimate yourselves. Lu Yuan shook his head. His eyes were indifferent, and there was a trace of disdain in his voice. Don't you still have a 7-person fusion skill? I'll give you a chance. Use it, and I'll make you give up completely. As Lu Yuan spoke, he retracted his coercion. After withdrawing his pressure, the 7 members of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy struggled to get up. Their expressions were ugly, especially Yu Tianheng. His eyes were filled with resentment. Once again, he was suppressed to the ground by Lu Yuan. You are very arrogant, but I will definitely defeat you, definitely. Tang San clenched his teeth and stared at Lu Yuan. His eyes were as fierce as a wild beast's. 7-person fusion, begin. Under Tang San's command, Yi Lingling's body shone with white light. She raised her hands and placed them on Oeso, who was in front of her. White light entered Oeso's body, and Oeso's body shone with blue light. He also placed his hands on the stone mill in front of him. After Oeso's light entered, the stone mill shone with a dim light. Oeso also placed his hands on graphite. Just like that, each and every one of them relied on their hands to transmit their soul force. When it was Yu Tianheng's turn, he raised both his hands, and a deep black light directly entered Tang San's body. Tang San's aura suddenly rose sharply. Soon, he reached the threshold of a soul Douluo. The clear sky hammer floated into Tang San's hands. With the infusion of soul power, the clear sky hammer became several times bigger. The hammer looked like a huge water tank. It shone with a black light and exuded a condensed and explosive aura. Interesting. Looking at the huge clear sky hammer in Tang San's hand, Lu Yuan's eyes flashed. Tang San should be able to use the clear sky true body of the clear sky hammer now. Lu Yuan was really interested in the clear sky true body, which was known as the #1 tool spirit in the world. He just didn't know how many moves Tang San could take after using the clear sky true body. Hopefully, he could take a few hits. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fun. Chapter 721. Lu Yuan, watch out for my hammer. After the 7 of them fused as one, Tang San's soul power had reached the threshold of a soul Douluo. His aura was unleashed, and he directly entered the realm of a soul Douluo. As he sensed the strength in his body, Tang San's long-lost confidence returned. With a move of his left hand, the clear sky hammer flew into the air. A thunderous roar sounded from the clear sky hammer as it expanded in the wind. At this moment, The diameter of the hammer had already reached more than 2 meters. The white patterns on the hammer were emitting a bright light. The clear sky hammer came down and was pointed at Lu Yuan. A terrifying aura was released, and the clear sky hammer shone with dense black light. As the hammer came down, it came crashing down on Lu Yuan's head. "You're still not learning?" Seeing that Tang San was only using the clear sky hammer to smash down without using any skills, Lu Yuan was furious. After the 7 of them fused as one, did he become arrogant again? He dared to be so arrogant in front of him. Lu Yuan clenched his right fist, and his sharp dragon claws clenched into a fist. His golden scales shone brightly with golden light. As he looked at the clear sky hammer that came crashing down, Lu Yuan immediately punched out. As he punched out, the air exploded, and the hammer was sent flying. Boom! There was a huge explosion in the air. The huge clear sky hammer was sent flying by Lu Yuan's punch, and it flew towards Tang San. Tang San caught the clear sky hammer with one hand. However, the hammer carried Lu Yuan's immense strength, and Tang San couldn't help but tremble. The clear sky hammer almost flew out of his hands. What great strength! A trace of shock flashed in Tang San's eyes. He looked at Lu Yuan with an extremely grave expression. He had not expected that his strength would increase to such an extent after the 7 of them merged into one. However, Lu Yuan was still able to send the clear sky hammer flying with one punch. "It seems like I have to be serious." Tang San focused and lifted the huge clear sky hammer with one hand. The white veined patterns on the clear sky hammer lit up completely. A faint light was transmitted from Tang San's body into the clear sky hammer. Suddenly, the entire clear sky hammer flickered with a dazzling dark golden luster. The clear sky hammer trembled in the air, and a buzzing sound came from the air. Tang San held the hammer with one hand, and his entire person seemed to have become one with the clear sky hammer. "Haotian body, you've finally used it." Looking at the current Tang San, Lu Yuan's double pupils blinked slightly. He clenched his fists slightly, and the battle intent on his body continued to rise. Although Tang San's clear sky true body was still a little immature, it was still a clear sky true body. Lu Yuan was still very interested. The dark golden light emanated from the clear sky hammer to Tang San's body. Tang San's body also began to emit a dark golden light. His aura and the clear sky hammer's aura were finally closely linked. At the same time, the clear sky hammer in Tang San's hand also slowly shrunk. It only stopped when it was 1 meter long and the hammer head was the size of a water bucket. "Lu Yuan, take this." Tang San let out a low roar. The clear sky hammer in his hand danced, and a dark golden light appeared. The clear sky hammer in Tang San's hand, which had just shrunk to the size of a water bucket, suddenly enlarged by 100 times. A huge clear sky hammer with a handle of more than 10 meters and a diameter of 5 to 6 meters carried an incomparably violent aura as it directly smashed towards Lu Yuan. Such a huge clear sky hammer smashed towards his head. In an instant, the sun in the sky was completely blocked. In front of Lu Yuan, there was only the huge dark golden clear sky hammer that was constantly enlarging in front of his eyes. "Come at me, dragon swimming in the great void." Lu Yuan let out a loud roar. The biting cold dragon's aura rose from his body, and the dragon's roar resounded. Lu Yuan's body shook, and with a flash of golden light, Lu Yuan's figure disappeared. His entire body turned into a 5-clawed golden dragon that was more than 10 meters long. He spiraled, flew up, and directly collided with the huge clear sky hammer. Since Tang San used the clear sky body, he would use the dragon swimming in the great void, which was similar to the martial soul true body, to fight with him. He wanted to see how long this legendary clear sky body could last in front of his dragon swimming in the great void. 5-clawed golden dragon? Seeing the majestic golden dragon that Lu Yuan had transformed into, Tang San couldn't help but let out a cry of surprise. His eyes were filled with shock. If the golden dragon gave him the impression of being powerful, then the 5-clawed golden dragon gave him the impression of being terrified. This was something that only existed in myths and legends. It was the belief in the hearts of generations of Huaxia people. Now that it was displayed in front of him, he was a little out of control. Boom! The five-clawed golden dragon and the huge clear sky body collided directly, setting off a huge energy storm. Dark golden and bright golden rays of light were released. In that instant, the intense light that burst out covered the sun. The entire arena was covered by these two rays of light. Ang! The five-clawed golden dragon roared towards the sky, letting out a loud dragon's roar. It directly sent the huge clear sky body flying. Circling in the air, the five-clawed golden dragon's golden tail violently swung out. Divine Dragon Tail Whip. The golden dragon's tail directly swung onto the clear sky body, and instantly, there was an explosion. The huge clear sky hammer directly disintegrated. The martial soul true body that belonged to the number one martial soul in the world was actually destroyed by the five-clawed golden dragon's tail. When the clear sky body exploded, the 7 people who performed the 7-body fusion technique suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The fusion technique was directly interrupted, and the 7 people's bodies knelt down one after another. Even the few people with lower cultivation were completely paralyzed on the ground, unable to move. Tang San half knelt on the ground. His injuries were not light. Because the clear sky body was destroyed, he suffered a backlash. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His aura was weak, and his face was as pale as paper. The majestic five-clawed golden dragon circled in the air, letting out a loud dragon's roar. Suddenly, the golden dragon fiercely rushed downwards, directly towards Tang San below. Not good, Lu Yuan wants to cripple me. Looking at the sharp golden dragon's eyes, Tang San's heart suddenly shuddered, and a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. Almost without thinking, he grabbed Yu Tianheng behind him and threw him forward. At the same time, he struggled to retreat. Dai Mubai, who was grabbing onto his right, was also pushed forward. He quickly used the ghost shadow perplexing track and hid behind, increasing the distance between him and the five-clawed golden dragon. Tang San, what are you doing? Suddenly being thrown to the front by Tang San, Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng couldn't help but tremble in their hearts when they saw the golden dragon coming towards them. Then, they let out a roar, and their eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. They didn't expect that Tang San would throw them to the front to block the attack for himself. Tang San, you will die a horrible death. Ah! Yu Tianheng first let out a roar, and then a mournful cry rang out. One could only see his right arm fly off from his body, and blood splattered everywhere. Chapter 722. Tianheng, ah! Dai Mubai was shocked when he saw Yu Tianheng's arm leave his body. After that, he let out a mournful cry. Like Yu Tianheng, his left arm was also separated from his body. Fresh blood gushed out from where his arm had been severed. The dragon's tail swayed as Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai were thrown off the stage. The five-clawed golden dragon didn't stop as it charged towards Tang San. I admit defeat. I represent the Heaven Do Imperial Academy and admit defeat. With Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng blocking in front, Tang San finally had enough time to shout out the 2 words admit defeat. Actually, it didn't take much time to shout the word admit defeat. Even if Lu Yuan had turned into a golden dragon and charged over, Tang San would have been able to shout the word admit defeat if he was fast enough. However, Tang San instinctively wanted to avoid the danger. He subconsciously pushed Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai away. After he was temporarily safe, he finally said the word admit defeat. It could be said that after Tang Hao died and Tang San transformed into an evil soul master, his original mentality had been magnified to an extreme. It had already become a subconscious part of him. Furthermore, he was worried that he wouldn't be quick enough to admit defeat. Before he could finish speaking, he would be severely injured or even crippled by the five-clawed golden dragon. Doing what he did just now was absolutely foolproof. It was much safer. This was Tang San's cautious personality. He wouldn't risk his life. As for whether Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai would hold a grudge against him, it was no longer his concern. His own life was the most important thing. According to the tournament's rules, since Tang San had admitted defeat, Lu Yuan couldn't continue attacking. Otherwise, he would be violating the tournament's rules and would be disqualified. Roar. A dragon's roar sounded. The five-clawed golden dragon turned in the air and turned back into its human form. Lu Yuan's figure suddenly appeared. Using your teammates as a shield. As expected of you, Tang San. Lu Yuan placed his hands behind his back. His gaze was indifferent as he stared at Tang San, who was not far away. His tone carried a hint of mockery. Look at how the audience is looking at you. I have to say, Tang San, you're famous now. I'm afraid they won't be able to forget you. After all, you've left a deep impression on them. Lu Yuan said with a chuckle. Tang San did not reply. He had already felt everything from the looks of disdain coming from all directions. But what did that count for? He had already thought of this when he was doing it. It was just a look of disdain, it didn't hurt at all. Back then, didn't the people of Jianghu look at the disciples of the Tang sect in such a way? After all, hidden weapons and poison were despised by the people of Jianghu. But so what? When had the disciples of the Tang sect ever cared? At the very least, he, Tang San, had managed to escape a calamity and was not crippled. As long as he was not crippled, there would be a day for him to regroup. He, Tang San, would not forget today's grudge. Although he lost today, it did not mean that he would lose in the future. He, Tang San, did not have any other strong points, but he knew how to hide and was cautious enough. As long as he waited patiently, there would always be a suitable opportunity. Oh, you don't seem to have the slightest regret. But that's right. Isn't it just using your teammates as a shield? This kind of small matter, why would you, Tang San, take it to heart? Lu Yuan snorted with a hint of coldness in his tone. Well, the competition is over. It's time for some things to start. Lu Yuan's eyes flickered slightly as he secretly said in his heart. Referee, you can announce the results of the competition. Lu Yuan's gaze turned slightly as he looked at the red-robed bishop not far away and said indifferently. The competition is over. Today's competition is won by the Heavenly Star Academy. As the winner of this team competition, the Heavenly Star Academy will advance to tomorrow's championship match and compete with the Martial Soul Palace Academy to determine the champion. Now, both teams, please step down from the stage. The championship match will be held tomorrow at 9 o'clock sharp. The red-robed bishop's voice resounded throughout the entire arena. Lu Yuan leisurely walked down from the stage with a leisurely expression. However, the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team was not the same. With Graphite as the leader, he and Millstone supported Oaso and Yi Lingling as they walked down from the stage. As for Tang San, he had long since been isolated by them. Originally, they were not particularly convinced by Tang San. If not for the persuasion of their original captain, Yu Tianheng, they would not have allowed Tang San to be their captain. But now, Tang San had actually used his teammates as a shield. This kind of behavior thoroughly chilled their hearts. How could someone like him be a captain? Other captains would protect their own team members, but Tang San was the one who pushed his own team members to their deaths. Tang San kept a straight face and did not say a word. He was unmoved by Graphite and the others' cold gazes. To him, the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team was only a temporary stronghold. Now that the competition was over, he would immediately leave. Why would he care about their opinions? Captain, Mubai, are you guys all right? Below the stage, Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai were already being helped up by the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team members. One of them had lost a right arm, while the other had lost a left arm. Due to the excessive blood loss, their faces were as pale as paper. Graphite couldn't help but ask as he looked at the two. Although Yu Tianheng had already retired from the position of captain, the other members of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy still called him captain. After all, he had taken good care of his team members in the past. Everyone acknowledged his position. We're fine. Yu Tianheng shook his head, then turned to Tang San, who was walking down the stage. His eyes were bloodshot as he glared at Tang San. It was as if he wanted to skin Tang San alive. Dai Mubai was the same. He stared at Tang San, his bloodshot eyes filled with killing intent. He wanted nothing more than to eat Tang San's flesh and drink his blood. Right now, Tang San was even more despicable than Lu Yuan in their eyes. At the very least, Lu Yuan was their enemy. It was understandable that he would be so ruthless towards them. However, Tang San, a brother whom they trusted wholeheartedly and were even willing to entrust their backs to, had actually betrayed them. When Lu Yuan attacked, he actually used them as scapegoats to protect himself. This caused the two of them to gnash their teeth in hatred. If they didn't take revenge, they wouldn't be human. Tang San. Looking at Tang San, Yu Tianheng's expression was malevolent. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he squeezed out the two words from between his teeth. His tone was filled with bone-chilling coldness. Chapter 723. Tang San, you deserve to die. Yu Tianheng glared at him and roared in a low voice. Tang San, has your conscience been eaten by a dog? We've followed you all the way and have a deep friendship. We've treated you as our closest brother and even left our backs to you. You actually want to use us as scapegoats just to protect yourself. Are you still human? Dai Mubai clenched his fists and shouted. Brothers? You think the two of you are worthy of being my brothers? I, Tang San, have twin martial souls and became a rank 56 Soul King at the age of 14. My clear sky hammer is a full 10,000-year soul ring. I'm worthy of being called a genius. What about the two of you? One of you was forced to crawl on the ground by Lu Yuan. His confidence collapsed and he's like a walking corpse. The other's fiancé was kidnapped and is wearing a green hat on his head. Yet, he can only run away in anger. You think the two of you are worthy of being my brothers? Tang San's mouth curled into a mocking smile as he sneered. Since the matter had already been done, both sides had already shed all pretenses. Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai wanted nothing more than to kill him, so he didn't have to worry about anything. The words that were originally hidden in his heart were spoken without reservation. He had interacted with the two of them because he wanted to borrow their strength to deal with Lu Yuan. When had he ever thought highly of them? Tang San's standards were very high. What did you say? Tang San, you have the nerve to talk about us. Weren't you beaten up like a dead dog by Lu Yuan? Twin martial souls. Haha, twin martial souls are simply a waste in your hands. Only an idiot like you would cultivate twin martial souls in advance to increase your strength in a short period of time. Haha, in the end, you cultivated until you were neither human nor ghost. Can you still add a soul ring to your clear sky hammer now? You can't. If you add another soul ring, your body will directly explode because of your martial soul. Without your clear sky hammer, what's the use of your trash blue silver grass? You think it's useful if you turn dark? A trash martial soul is a trash martial soul. Even if you turn dark, it's still a trash martial soul. Hearing Tang San's words, Yu Tianheng sneered. That's right. You have the nerve to mock us. No matter how disappointing we are, one of us is a Star Luo prince, and the other is the young master of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. What about you? Does the Clear Sky sect acknowledge you? They only treat you as a bastard. Apart from Tang Xiao, who else would give a damn about you? The vast heaven Douluo is such a renowned figure, but has been completely annihilated. Do you still have anything to rely on now? You're nothing more than a lowly commoner now. We're willing to treat you as a brother, and that's an honor for you. But in reality, who do you think you are? Do you think you're worthy of being on the same level as us? Hearing Tang San's words, Dai Mubai was infuriated and began to mock Tang San. Hearing the two's words, Tang San could not help but clench his fists so tightly that they creaked. Both of you, shut up. Veins popped up on Tang San's clenched fists as he roared at the two of them. Who do you think you are? Do you think we'll shut up just because you told us to? Hihi, I've touched on your sore spot. You can't take it anymore, can you? Yu Tianheng chuckled coldly. You're courting death. Hearing this, Tang San's gaze sharpened, and his right hand reached for his waist out of habit. Tang San, are you going to use your hidden weapons again? Oh, that's right, I remember now. You like to use hidden weapons to hurt others when you can't beat them in a fight. I still remember why Lu Yuan beat you up back then. It seems like it was because you used hidden weapons, and you even used them on your own teammates. TSK, I should have seen through your true nature. You have a record of not caring about your teammates. I should have known. How can a person who only knows how to use hidden weapons and poison be a good person? Sigh, it's all my fault for not seeing through your true nature back then. I was actually deceived by you. Now that I think about it, I was really a little foolish back then. Dai Mubai shook his head. There was a hint of self-mockery in his voice as he dug up Tang San's despicable past once again. Since Tang San used him as a scapegoat, then he would destroy Tang San's reputation and let the world know what kind of person Tang San was. That's right. Now that I think about it, I also feel that I was stupid. I actually believed Tang San's nonsense and pulled him into the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team. I even gave him the position of team leader. Not only did he not feel the slightest bit of gratitude, but he even used me as a shield today. What a good Tang San, he's really ungrateful to the extreme. Hearing Dai Mubai's words, Yu Tianheng immediately voiced out his agreement. Yu Tianheng, Dai Mubai, and Tang San. The three of them were exposing and belittling each other, causing the spectators to be completely stunned. They really didn't expect that under the stage, in front of so many people, the three of them would actually start quarreling. Their quarrel was extremely intense, but it had to be said that their quarrel was quite interesting. This is really interesting. Dogs biting each other, a mouthful of fur. Lu Yuan slowly walked back to his waiting area. When he saw the three of them quarreling like a raging fire, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl into a slight smile. He originally wanted to make a move himself and put on a good show. However, he didn't expect that the three of them would start quarreling before he even made a move. Abuchi. Seeing Lu Yuan walk back, Ning Rongrong immediately stood up and quickly ran to Lu Yuan's side. After that, she grabbed onto Lu Yuan's arm. Abuchi, you're really amazing. You have 200,000-year soul rings. I was stunned when I saw them. Ning Rongrong lifted her small head. Her ice-blue eyes were sparkling as she spoke with a smile on her face. Lu Yuan smiled faintly as he pinched Ning Rongrong's small head and said softly, "It's all right. I'm just a little stronger than Tang San and the rest." Abuchi. As he pulled Ning Rongrong back to the waiting area, Chihiro Snow and the rest looked over at the same time. This was especially so for Chihiro Snow. His watery golden eyes flickered with light, and his eyes were filled with pride. Share. Lu Yuan smiled at Chihiro Snow. A trace of gentleness flashed across his eyes. Turning his gaze, Lu Yuan looked at the members of the Heavenly Star Battle team. At this moment, there was an additional look of worship in their eyes that hadn't been there before. In the past, they were very confident in Lu Yuan. However, their confidence in Lu Yuan had turned into worship. The combination of purple, black, red, and red had shocked everyone. Furthermore, this was the only Heavenly Star Battle team that had a 14-year-old Soul Emperor. Lu Yuan's talent had long surpassed the imagination of ordinary people. After nodding to everyone, Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow and asked softly, "Cher, do you have the Neptune's heart with you?" "Yes, I have it with me. Do you want it?" Chihiro Snow asked. "Yes, give it to me first. I have some use for it temporarily," Lu Yuan said softly. Chapter 724. A little useful. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow was a little curious. Why did Abuchi want the sea god's heart now? However, Chihiro Snow didn't ask too much. She knew that Lu Yuan would do something for them to see, so there was no need to ask. "For you, Abuchi." Chihiro Snow's hand flashed, and a triangular cover appeared in her hand. This cover was clear and transparent, and it radiated a bright blue light. It was the vast sea cosmic cover, also known as the sea god's heart. Lu Yuan smiled and waved his hand. The vast sea cosmic cover flew from Chihiro Snow's hand and landed in his palm. Immediately, it shone brightly, and a gentle blue light was released that enveloped everyone around him. "It's so comfortable." Ning Rongrong couldn't help but sigh softly. The vast sea cosmic cover's light was exceptionally gentle and comfortable. It could inadvertently dispel one's worries and mental fatigue, and was very beneficial for one's recovery. It's comfortable. However, some people don't feel comfortable. For example, evil soul masters. As Lu Yuan spoke, he turned to look at Tang San and the other two. The three of them were still arguing, and it was almost to the point of fighting. Yu Xiaogang was trying to mediate, but it was a pity that no one cared about him. The three of them were still arguing fiercely. Evil soul masters, Abuchi, are you going to fight? Zhu Zhuqing's eyes narrowed as she asked softly. Almost. The competition is over. I couldn't kill on the stage earlier, but I'm off stage now. Killing people isn't a violation of the rules, especially when the person I'm killing is an evil soul master. Lu Yuan laughed softly, and his voice was a little cold. Let's go. I'll show you what those three guys are like now. They're still hiding some things. Lu Yuan laughed softly. With that, Lu Yuan strode toward the waiting area where the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team was. Yu Xiaogang stood between the three of them and said loudly, "Stop arguing. Xiao San, just apologize to Tian Heng and the others. You guys are partners in the first place. Why do you need to make things so awkward? Partner? We don't have a partner like him. Uncle, this matter has nothing to do with you. Move aside." Yu Tianheng said sternly. That's right, Grandmaster. We don't have a partner like him who would pull his brother to block a blade for him. You'd better step aside first. Otherwise, it won't be good if you get hurt when we fight later. Dai Mubai said indifferently. Hearing the conversation between the two, Yu Xiaogang became anxious. He opened his mouth and was about to say something when suddenly, a chuckle rang out, completely interrupting him. Interesting. Internal strife. What a wonderful show. Lu Yuan's vast sea cosmic barrier spun in his right hand. He swept his gaze across Tang San and the others with a trace of a smile on his face. Lu Yuan, what are you doing here? Yu Xiaogang immediately shouted when he saw Lu Yuan. It's none of your business. Move aside. Seeing that Yu Xiaogang dared to shout at him, Lu Yuan casually waved his left hand and sent Yu Xiaogang flying far away. For a moment, he couldn't even get up. Lu Yuan calmly glanced at Yu Xiaogang before retracting his gaze. Lu Yuan stared at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team members and blinked his eyes. With a wave of his left hand, a white jade medicine bottle appeared in his hand. Lingling, come here. Lu Yuan gently said as he glanced at Yi Lingling. Yes, Hall Master. Yi Lingling's clear voice rang out. Lingling, you. Hearing Yi Lingling call Lu Yuan Hall Master, shock flashed through the eyes of Sai Luo and Sai Luo. I'm sorry. I didn't tell everyone that I'm actually a member of the Dragon King Palace. Yi Lingling softly said as she looked at Sai Luo and the others. What? Sai Luo and the others were shocked. Yi Lingling, who had always been by their side, was actually a member of the Dragon King Palace. Tang San, Yu Tianheng, and Dai Mubai's faces darkened. They had been busy collecting information on Lu Yuan and plotting against him. They didn't expect that Lu Yuan had already buried his own people in their midst. Lu Yuan, in the end, you're still a level above us. It's a pity that despite all our schemes, we've already lost to you from the start. Yu Tianheng lightly said with a trace of self-mockery in his tone. I'm convinced. Lu Yuan, although I hate you and wish I could skin you alive, I'm convinced this time. I, Dai Mubai, am sincerely convinced. You're indeed very capable. Whether it's strength or scheming, you're much stronger than us. Although you're an enemy worthy of respect. Unlike some people who appear to be on the same side, but are even more ruthless than the enemy when it comes to scheming behind their backs. Dai Mubai lightly sighed and said in a serious tone. You must have misunderstood something. I've never used Lingling, nor did I ask her to collect any information. Do you think that with my strength, I'd need such things to deal with you? She only stayed behind to repay a debt of gratitude. Lu Yuan chuckled. Hearing this, Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai both fell silent. Lu Yuan's strength had far exceeded their expectations. He possessed 200,000-year soul rings and had easily defeated all 7 of them on the stage. Did he still need to collect any information? Absolutely not. Lingling, this is a rejuvenation pill. It's specifically used to treat injuries. Take it and use it to heal yourself and your teammates. Lu Yuan gently said as he handed the jade bottle to Yi Lingling. Thank you, Hall Master. Yi Lingling hurriedly thanked him as she received the jade bottle. Oh right, Lingling, the tournament is already over. You've already represented the Heaven Do Imperial Academy in the tournament, so you can consider it as repaying their kindness for teaching you. After you return, you should go to the Heavenly Star Academy. That's our academy, so you can't always stay outside. Lu Yuan said. Yes, Hall Master. Lingling understands. Yi Lingling nodded her small head, then took the jade bottle and returned to Shitu and the others. She took out the pills from the jade bottle and distributed them one by one. Even Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai received a pill. As for Tang San, he naturally didn't receive one. Right now, he was hated by everyone in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. The rejuvenation pill's effects were extraordinary. After consuming it, Shitu and the others' injuries basically stabilized and even began to rapidly improve. After all, it was a pill refined by Lu Yuan, so its effects were quite astonishing. Even Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng, who had lost a lot of blood and lost an arm, looked much better than before. It was obvious that they'd recovered quite a bit. All right, now that the pills have been distributed, I'll get down to business. Chapter 725. All right, now that we've distributed the pills, it's time to get down to business. Lu Yuan chuckled as he watched the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team swallow the rejuvenation pills. Get down to business? Lu Yuan, what do you mean by that? Tang San instinctively felt that something was amiss when he heard Lu Yuan's words and immediately asked. What do I mean? Lu Yuan smiled before retracting his smile. His expression turned cold, and a cold light flashed through his eyes. Where are Douluo and Ma Xiaodao? Lu Yuan shouted. As soon as his voice trailed off, 2 figures instantly appeared in front of Lu Yuan. One of them was wearing a dark green robe, and he had a head of grayish-white hair and a rather long beard. It was none other than the poison Douluo, Douluo. The other figure was wearing a red robe, and had a beautiful oval face. Her fiery red hair fell to her waist, and her fiery red eyes shone brightly. It was the phoenix Douluo, Ma Xiaodao. Douluo pays his respects to the Hall Master. Ma Xiaodao pays her respects to the Lord. Both of them appeared in a flash and knelt down on one knee before Lu Yuan, bowing deeply. Rise, Lu Yuan said softly. Yes, Hall Master. Yes, Lord. Both of them rose to their feet. Hall Master, do you have something you need me to do? Douluo asked. Yes, I do. Lu Yuan smiled. His gaze drifted towards Tang San, Dai Mubai, and Yu Tianheng as he sternly said, capture the 3 of them. Yes, Hall Master. Ma Xiaodao and Douluo were about to attack when they heard Lu Yuan's words. Wait, Lu Yuan, what right do you have to arrest us? Yu Tianheng shouted. That's right, Lu Yuan. Tianheng and I are princes of the Star Luo Empire, and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect's junior sect master. You'd better not mess around. Dai Mubai narrowed his eyes. Haha, are you trying to use the Star Luo Empire and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect to pressure me? I've already crippled Davis. Do you think I'll be afraid of the Star Luo Imperial family? As for the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect, I can destroy it with a flip of my hand. Lu Yuan chuckled, his tone carrying a trace of disdain. If you're not afraid of the Star Luo Imperial family and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect, then what about the Martial Soul Palace? This is the Martial Soul Palace's territory, and the venue of the Continental Elite Soul Master Tournament. You want to capture the 3 of us here? Do you have any respect for the Martial Soul Palace? Although your Dragon King Palace is strong, there is still a gap between you and the Martial Soul Palace. Are you disrespecting the Pope by being so presumptuous? Tang San cupped his hands in the direction of Bibidon, his words carrying a trace of threat. This was where Tang San was smart. He knew that since Lu Yuan didn't have any respect for the Star Luo imperial family and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, then the Clear Sky sect was the same. In order to protect himself, he could only choose to borrow the power of the Martial Soul Palace to resist Lu Yuan. After all, this was the Martial Soul Palace's territory. They couldn't allow someone from the Dragon King Palace to act so presumptuously, right? Otherwise, wouldn't the Martial Soul Palace's prestige be tarnished? Abuchi, this is the entrance of the Pope's palace. The Pope is here, so don't act on impulse. Ning Fengji stood up in front of the Pope's palace and looked in Lu Yuan's direction as he spoke in a deep voice. Uncle Ning, do I look like someone who acts on impulse? I naturally have my reasons for doing this, Lu Yuan said. Oh, please elaborate. Ning Fengji was a little curious as he asked. Indeed, Lu Yuan wasn't someone who acted on impulse. On the contrary, every step he took was very stable. Haha, Uncle Ning, if I wanted to capture the Heaven Do Imperial Academy students, then it would be inappropriate. However, if I wanted to capture evil soul masters who are harming the world, then what's wrong with that? Lu Yuan chortled, his voice carrying a trace of coldness. Evil soul masters? You're saying that Tang San and the other two are evil soul masters? After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Ning Fengji couldn't help but exclaim. There was a trace of astonishment in his eyes. He had known Lu Yuan for many years, and he knew that Lu Yuan wouldn't lie about such things. Didn't that mean that Tang San, Dai Mubai, and Yu Tianheng were all evil soul masters? Evil soul masters were the mortal enemies of all soul masters in the world. If they were really evil soul masters, then not only would the Martial Soul Palace not stop Lu Yuan, they would even help Lu Yuan capture Tang San and the others. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Yu Tianheng was shocked at first, but he calmed down and questioned loudly, Lu Yuan, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Do you have any proof that we're evil soul masters? That's right, Tianheng is right. Do you have any proof? Lu Yuan, I think you're using your position to avenge your personal grudge. You're deliberately slandering them. A voice came from the side. Lu Yuan turned around and saw that it was Yu Xiaogang. He looked at Lu Yuan with a face full of righteousness, and there was a questioning look on his face. Hey! After seeing Yu Xiaogang's expression, Lu Yuan couldn't help but exclaim softly. This guy is showing his true feelings. Doesn't he know that Tang San and the others are evil soul masters? Yes, Yu Xiaogang cares a lot about his face, and his ego is so strong that it's perverted. He wants to prove his theories to the world, so why would he allow his disciple and nephew to become evil soul masters? Therefore, Tang San and the others must have secretly colluded with those evil soul masters behind Yu Xiaogang's back. Ah, this is interesting. What a pitiful worm. He's been kept in the dark by his disciple and nephew, and he doesn't know anything. How pitiful. Proof. Of course I do. But before that, I'd like to ask Your Holiness a question. As the Pontiff of the Martial Soul Hall, which is the largest soul master organization on the continent and is responsible for maintaining order on the continent, how could you not have noticed the identities of these three evil soul masters? Lu Yuan's gaze turned to Bibidon as he asked plainly. Haha, since Hallmaster Lu can sense that something is wrong, our Martial Soul Palace naturally won't fall behind. After our careful investigation, Tang San, Yu Tianheng, and Dai Mubai are indeed evil soul masters. Originally, I wanted to leave before ordering the Guardian Knights to capture them, but I didn't expect Hallmaster Lu to beat me to it. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Bibidon chuckled as he spoke. Bibidon's words caused the entire place to go silent. If Lu Yuan's words could be said to be abusing his position to avenge a personal grudge, then Bibidon's words basically confirmed that Tang San and the others were evil soul masters. The Martial Soul Palace had always been responsible for suppressing and killing evil soul masters in the world. Furthermore, the Pope of the Martial Soul Palace had personally confirmed that Tang San and the others were evil soul masters in front of so many people. This couldn't be fake, so almost everyone present believed that this was the truth. Impossible, they can't be evil soul masters. You said that you've investigated, but do you have any proof? If you're so capable, why don't you show us the proof? After hearing Bibidon say that Tang San and the others were evil soul masters, Yu Xiaogang was very agitated. He immediately roared at Lu Yuan and Bibidon. Chapter 726. How dare you be disrespectful to His Holiness the Pope? Seeing that Yu Xiaogang dared to roar at Bibidon, the cardinal immediately reprimanded Yu Xiaogang. Someone like you dares to yell at my lord. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's roar, Ma Xiaodao narrowed her eyes. She waved her hand and slapped Yu Xiaogang. Yu Xiaogang's body was sent flying as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Without any strength, how dare he act so presumptuously in front of the Pope of the Martial Soul Palace and the Lord of the Dragon King Palace? How could he not be punished? The reason why Lu Yuan remained unscathed after taking liberties with Bibidon was because he was the Lord of the Dragon King Palace. Their statuses were similar. If it was Yu Xiaogang who did the same thing, he wouldn't have been able to do it. He would have been chopped into meat paste by the paladins. Seeing that Yu Xiaogang was sent flying by Ma Xiaotao's slap, Lu Yuan didn't react at all. Instead, he shifted his gaze to Bibidon. Originally, he didn't want to make a move against Yu Xiaogang. Even when Yu Xiaogang plotted against Yu Xiaogang in the Heaven Do competition zone to obtain information about him, he didn't want to do anything to Yu Xiaogang. However, he didn't expect that Yu Xiaogang would dare to hurt Bibidon again. This made Lu Yuan decide to deal with him. And with Lu Yuan's character, once he decided to deal with someone, that person would definitely be miserable. Today's show wasn't just for Tang San and the other two. Dealing with Yu Xiaogang was also part of it. When Bibidon saw that Yu Xiaogang was sent flying by Ma Xiaotao's slap, he opened his mouth slightly and wanted to say something. However, after seeing Lu Yuan's gaze, he sighed softly and didn't say anything. Now, if she had to choose between Yu Xiaogang and Lu Yuan, she would naturally choose Lu Yuan. Although she hadn't completely forgotten Yu Xiaogang, it wasn't that deep either. On the other hand, when Liu Erlong saw that Yu Xiaogang was sent flying, she hurriedly went to support him. Flender, who was behind her, sighed and followed her. After Bibidon sighed softly, he focused his gaze on Tang San and the others again. I said that I've done a thorough investigation. Naturally, there's a basis for it. The three of you want evidence, right? I'll give you evidence. Men, bring witnesses. As soon as Bibidong finished speaking, the Guardian Knight brought in a boy and a girl dressed in plain clothes. The girl looked to be about 14 or 15 years old and had a decent appearance. The boy was about 8 or 9 years old and was still a boy. These two children are survivors from Sunset Village and Fueling Village. Not long ago, Sunset Village and Fueling Village were robbed by evil soul masters, and all the villagers were killed. These two children only managed to escape because they hid well. At that time, we investigated 15 villages in the Heaven Do realm that had been attacked by evil soul masters. Sunset Village and Fueling Village were among them. In the end, we found these two children. Children, come and identify them. Are they the ones who killed the villagers in your village that day? Bibidon said gently as he pointed at Tang San and the others. Yes, Your Holiness. The two children were a little reserved when they suddenly appeared in a place like this. However, when they heard Bibidon's words, they looked in the direction of Tang San and the others. However, both of them became excited at the same time. It's them, they're the ones who killed my parents. Although they were masked at the time, I recognized the belt on that person's waist. At that time, black grass emerged from that person's hand and directly penetrated my parents' chests. He's a devil. Not only did he kill my parents, he even used that black grass to suck their blood dry. I'll never forget that scene. It's him. He's the murderer. The young girl was agitated as she pointed at Tang San. Her face was full of tears, and her eyes were full of hatred. After hearing the young girl's testimony, everyone's expression changed. Now that there was a witness, the matter was confirmed. Child, what about you? Bibidon looked at the 8-year-old boy and asked. At that time, they were masked, so I couldn't see their faces. However, I remember the color of their hair. It was exactly the same as theirs, especially the man with the long golden hair. I remember him. At that time, he had a tiger that was half white and half blood red on his back. I saw that after he killed those people, he swallowed all the blood, and then the blood-red color on his body became more and more. The little boy's face was full of fear, as if he was still afraid of what had happened. However, his finger was still pointing at Dai Mubai unwaveringly. After he said that, everyone's expression changed again. A blood-red tiger. Dai Mubai had used that just now. Could it be that the reason why it could turn from a white tiger to a blood-red tiger had something to do with the fact that it had killed so many people and sucked their blood? Now that the evidence is conclusive, do you still dare to deny it? Bibidon held his scepter and said with a dignified expression, "Haha, if you want to pin a crime on someone, then let's not talk about it. Who knows if the Martial Soul Palace purposely found these two people and deliberately leaked information about us to them before they came here? Do you have a video of us committing the crime?" Tang San laughed and asked in reply. It was obvious that even at this point, he still refused to admit to his crimes. This was because he couldn't admit to it. Once he did, he would die without a doubt. Heh, the evidence is right here. Do you think that you can escape punishment by refusing to admit to your crimes? Palace guards, arrest them for this emperor. Bibidon sneered and waved his hand. The palace guards immediately charged forward. What a joke. Normally, the Martial Soul Palace didn't need a reason to arrest people. Today, there were two witnesses, and Tang San still wanted to deny it. Was there any use in denying it? There was no use at all. They arrested people just because they said so. This was the tyrannical power of the Martial Soul Palace. Wait. Seeing the palace guards charge forward, Lu Yuan raised his hand and said calmly. Bibidon waved his hand and stopped the palace guards. He looked at Lu Yuan and asked softly, "Temple Master Lu, if you have something to say, please say it." "Your Holiness, didn't Tang San and the other two say that witnesses are unreliable and that we need the most direct evidence? It just so happens that I have the most direct evidence here. I guarantee that they won't be able to deny it." Lu Yuan smiled gently. "Oh, Temple Master Lu has such evidence in your hands. This emperor is curious." Bibidon's tone had a hint of surprise. "Your Holiness the Pope, please wait and see," Lu Yuan said as he turned to look at Tang San and the others. His eyes were sharp and fierce. Tang San, you really won't give up until you've reached the Yellow River. Fine, let me reveal your dirty and ugly true face," Lu Yuan said calmly. Chapter 727. Lu Yuan, don't try to play tricks here. I'm a man of my word, and I'm not afraid of any false accusations. If you're trying to slander me on purpose, you won't be able to deceive everyone. Tang San spoke with a righteous expression as he looked at Lu Yuan. However, his fists were tightly clenched, and his pupils contracted slightly. His breathing was also a little rapid, and it was clear that he was actually very worried right now. His mind was already in a mess, but he was forcefully controlling himself so that he didn't show it. It had to be said that Tang San's ability to control himself was very outstanding. At the very least, Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai were already in a state of panic. Their past deeds had been pointed out in court, and their hearts were filled with fear. Furthermore, the Martial Soul Palace was going to attack them, and there were witnesses. Could the Star Luo Imperial family and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect save them? Furthermore, Lu Yuan's Dragon King Palace was also watching from the sidelines. They would most likely be abandoned as soon as possible. There was no way that the Star Luo Imperial family and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect would choose to become enemies with the Martial Soul Palace and the Dragon King Palace for them. In the eyes of these imperial families and sects, they were just direct descendants of a single family. What were they to them? When it was time to abandon them, they would abandon them without any hesitation. Even Ning Fengji, who doted on his daughter, would still push his daughter to Lu Yuan's side for the sake of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect's interests. In the eyes of these sect members, the interests of the sect were paramount. This was the norm for the sects on the Douluo continent, and it was the same for those sects that were tied together by blood. Lu Yuan shook his head slightly at the sight of Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai. They were quite talented, but their mentality was a big problem. They were indeed far inferior to Tang San. Tang San's attitude was what a villainous mini-boss should be like. The eyes of the masses are as clear as snow. Lu Yuan chuckled and said, "That's right. The eyes of the crowd are indeed as sharp as snow. So, everyone saw that you pulled your teammate to take the bullet for you. Everyone also saw that you still refused to admit to your crimes even though the evidence was conclusive. A righteous man is not afraid of a crooked shadow. How shameless are you to say such words? You clearly don't even deserve to be called a human, yet you still have the nerve to act righteous. You're even more of a hypocrite than Yu Buchuan. Oh, by the way, you may not know who Yu Buchuan is, but it doesn't matter much. Anyway, he is the same kind of person as you. Maybe when you meet, you can even become close friends." As soon as Lu Yuan's words rang out, there was a burst of laughter from the surroundings. A guy who used his own teammate as a shield dared to say that he was not afraid of a crooked shadow. It was truly hilarious. There was actually such a thick-skinned and shameless person in this world. They had really broadened their horizons. The laughter of the audience rang out, and Tang San's face immediately darkened. He had always liked to do selfish things in the name of justice, but this time, he forgot that his despicable actions had already been exposed in front of everyone's eyes. Not only did his actions not gain the approval of the audience, on the contrary, he was ruthlessly mocked. Compared to his despicable actions, the audience clearly believed in the Martial Soul Palace and the Dragon King Palace more. Furthermore, now that the evidence had been laid out, even though Tang San tried his best to deny it, the audience had already determined that it was the truth. Tang San and the other two were evil soul masters. After all, the Martial Soul Palace was the orthodox sect of soul masters in the world, and Bibidon was the belief of countless soul masters. How could the words of the Pope be false? Therefore, Tang San and the others were undoubtedly evil soul masters. At this moment, what they were waiting for was nothing more than Lu Yuan's more direct evidence that would make Tang San and the others unable to defend themselves. "Lu Yuan, you only know how to flaunt your mouth. Do you have any evidence? I think you're just bluffing." Even though Tang San was actually very worried, he still refused to admit it. "Heh, what's the hurry? Isn't the evidence coming soon?" Lu Yuan smiled faintly. He opened his right hand slightly, and the vast sea cosmic shroud exuded a dazzling blue light. In the instant that he saw the vast sea cosmic shroud, a strong sense of unease welled up in Tang San's heart, and there was a sense of trepidation in his heart. "What is this?" Tang San couldn't help but ask in a trembling voice. "This is a good thing. It's a good thing that can expose your true colors." Lu Yuan's lips curled up slightly. Using the sea god's heart to expose the true colors of the original sea god was a very satisfying thing. "Isn't this the vast sea cosmic shroud? It's the supreme treasure of the former Heaven Do Empire." Ning Fengji couldn't help but ask after seeing Lu Yuan's actions. "It is indeed the vast sea cosmic shroud, but it also has another name. It's called the sea god's heart. It can release the light of the sea god." Lu Yuan smiled faintly. He immediately injected clear energy and divine power into the vast sea cosmic shroud, and the dazzling blue light quickly swept out like waves of water. In just an instant, the entire waiting area, and even the entire arena, was enveloped by the blue light. The entire arena had become a domain formed by the blue light. At the same time, the expression of a blue-haired woman walking in a certain part of Martial Spirit City changed drastically, and she quickly disappeared on the spot. "The divine light will dispel all filth, and no evil can hide under the light of the sea god," Lu Yuan said softly as he injected clear energy and divine power into the sea god's heart. If the light of the sea god's heart's ability to restrain evil was originally rated at 5, then with the infusion of clear energy and divine power, it had been raised to 8, or even 9. It was definitely not inferior to the angelic holy light of the angel god. The light that Lu Yuan released with the help of the sea god's heart was actually very different from the light of the sea god. It couldn't be considered the true light of the sea god. However, its strength wasn't inferior at all. The light of the sea god, which had been injected with clear energy and divine power, didn't affect ordinary people. It could even make them feel warm and comfortable. However, to evil soul masters, it was the most terrifying thing in the world. Tang San, Yu Tianheng, and Dai Mubai's evil auras were originally concealed. However, under the illumination of the sea god's heart, they couldn't hide it anymore. When the bright blue light shone on their bodies, it was as if hot oil had been poured onto raw meat. There was an intense reaction, and they couldn't help but scream. Tang San and the other two started to release black and red light. A dense evil, dark, and bloody aura was released. This aura couldn't be blocked at all, and everyone present couldn't help but frown. A sense of disgust surged from the bottom of their hearts. From the moment this aura appeared, there was no longer any doubt that Tang San and the other two were evil soul masters. This was the only thought in everyone's mind. Chapter 728. Thick black and red blood flames ignited on the bodies of Tang San and the other two. The evil, bloody, and dark aura it emitted was even more eye-catching. Even Lu Yuan was a little surprised in his heart. Such a thick bloody and evil aura, how many people did these guys kill and how much blood did they absorb? Generally speaking, the more people one killed, the more murderous aura one would have. The more people one killed, the heavier the murderous aura. The killing god domain in the City of Massacre was a domain obtained by materializing murderous aura. But murderous aura and evil were not related. Killing did not represent evil. Just like the Azura god, he was a light-killing god, but he represented order. Although the Azura god in the original book was not a guy who abided by order, it was not like he had never used his authority to cheat his inheritors. But the Azura god's actions had little to do with his power attribute. Instead, a dark-killing god like the Rakshasa god represented evil. This was also why Lu Yuan had always wanted Bibidon to give up the Rakshasa deity position. Even now, he still had not given up on this idea. His current ability was insufficient. When he had sufficient ability, even if Bibidon was unwilling, he would forcibly remove the Rakshasa divine power from Bibidon's body. As long as he was in close contact with Bibidon, he could use the clear divine power in his body to completely remove the Rakshasa god's evil power. Even if Bibidon blamed him, he would accept it, because he really could not watch Bibidon walk step by step into the abyss. To be honest, the Rakshasa god was really not a good choice for Bibidon. On the contrary, the real evil god, one of the 5 divine kings, had a good deity position. His evil was very pure and would not cause people to lose control. On the contrary, whether it was the Rakshasa god or the evil of these evil soul masters, they were all evil with impurities. Speaking of evil, it was more like a depraved power. For example, Tang San and the others, the stench of blood and evil on their bodies was extremely thick. This was because they had killed many people, but also because they had absorbed the blood and life force of those living beings to cultivate. Over time, such an aura was formed. Such an aura was undoubtedly very uncomfortable. Tang San and the other two had such an evil and bloody aura on their bodies. There was no doubt that they were evil soul masters, and there was no way that they could clear their names. What do you think? Is this evidence enough? Mr. Evil Soul Masters. Lu Yuan laughed softly, and his voice carried a tinge of killing intent. He had always hated evil soul masters. Furthermore, he had almost died at the hands of an evil soul master. As he looked at the 3 people in front of him, his heart was already filled with killing intent. Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai would definitely die. As for Tang San, it would depend on his luck. If someone came to save him and was able to save him, then he would not die. If no one came to save him, then he would die together with Yu Tianheng and the others. He would not purposely spare Tang San, because there was no need for him to do so. There was a use in sparing him, and there was no problem in not sparing him. Everything depended on his own fate. If he was unlucky, then he would still die. Tang San, can you still deny it now? The stench of blood on your body is so thick. I'm afraid there are thousands or even tens of thousands of people who have died at your hands. Your soul power has increased so quickly. Other than your twin martial souls, it must also be because of the blood you absorbed to cultivate. Lu Yuan laughed as he spoke. Lu Yuan. Ah. Under the illumination of the light of the sea god, Tang San appeared to be in extreme pain. As he howled, he looked at Lu Yuan with eyes full of hatred. Once his identity as an evil soul master was revealed, he had really cut himself off from the world of soul masters on the continent. At least on the surface, no organization on the continent dared to collude with evil soul masters openly. This was because it meant that they had become enemies with the entire continent. Therefore, even if he returned alive, he could not return to the Clear Sky sect. He could only follow the evil soul masters to the end. How could he not hate Lu Yuan, who had caused all of this? However, apart from hatred, he was more afraid. Once his identity as an evil soul master was revealed, he would definitely die. Uncle Ning, do you have any other questions? Lu Yuan asked as he looked at Ning Fengji. No. Sigh, I didn't expect them to really be evil soul masters. Ning Fengji sighed softly. Tang San and Yu Tianheng were very close to the Clear Sky sect and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. After this incident, these two sects were probably going to clash with the Dragon King Hall. Furthermore, he was definitely going to follow Lu Yuan. This also meant that he was going to clash with the Clear Sky sect and the others. He had always advocated that the three upper sects should be united. However, it seemed like that was just empty talk now. It was impossible for it to be realized. In this way, the martial soul palace had gained a huge advantage. Ning Fengji wanted to advise Lu Yuan to be merciful so as to avoid straining the relationship between the two sects. However, Yu Tianheng and the others were evil soul masters. Even if Ning Fengji wanted to plead for mercy, he didn't dare to do so. If he did, wouldn't people say that he had connections with evil soul masters? Would the Seven Treasures Glazed sect get into trouble? Ning Fengji would not do such a stupid thing. Forget it, forget it. It doesn't matter if the three upper sects are not united. After all, the Seven Treasures Glazed sect and the Dragon King Hall are enough to resist the martial soul palace. Ning Fengji thought to himself. Lu Yuan naturally didn't know what Ning Fengji was thinking. After hearing Ning Fengji's words, Lu Yuan's eyes narrowed as he shouted, "Dugu Bo, Ma Xiaodao, kill these three evil soul masters." Yes. The two of them responded at the same time. Their titled Douluo auras started to rise rapidly. Ah. Wait, Lu Yuan, I have something to say. Yu Tianheng was in a lot of pain under the light of the sea god. However, he still managed to find the time to shout. After waving his hand to stop the two of them, Lu Yuan asked plainly, "What do you have to say?" Yu Tianheng looked exhausted. He sighed and said, "I know that I'm definitely going to die this time. However, I have a request before I die. I hope you can agree to it." "Oh, tell me about it. If it's interesting, I might agree to it." Lu Yuan said. "I beg you to let me fight Tang San. It doesn't matter if I die. However, he betrayed us. I have to take revenge for being his scapegoat. Otherwise, I won't be able to rest in peace." Yu Tianheng clenched his left hand tightly and said with a furious look on his face, "That's right. We're definitely going to die today. I just hope that you can let us kill Tang San with our own hands before we die." After hearing Yu Tianheng's words, Dai Mubai hurriedly chimed in. The consequences of being betrayed by a trusted brother were definitely not good. Since they were going to die, they had to settle their feud with Tang San before they died. This was the only thought in their minds right now. Chapter 729. Personally kill Tang San? After hearing Yu Tianheng and Dai Mubai's words, Lu Yuan rubbed his chin and squinted his eyes. He turned his gaze and saw the hopeful looks on Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng's faces. Lu Yuan smiled and said, Your request is interesting, but I reject it. What does your remaining grievances have to do with me? I'm not the kind of person who likes to fulfill other people's wishes. You can settle your unwillingness when you're in hell. Do it. Lu Yuan waved his hand and said softly as he ignored Dai Mubai and Yu Tianheng's resentful looks. Yes. Ma Xiaodao and Dugu Bo acknowledged as they gathered boundless energy in their hands. Suddenly, Lu Yuan felt a jolt in his heart. He felt a sense of danger. Ever since he became a Soul Emperor, he rarely experienced such a feeling. Back in the dense fog forest, he had such a feeling. In the end, he almost died. However, this feeling appeared again. This meant that someone who was hostile towards him and had the ability to kill him was approaching. This was because the sense of danger in his heart was getting stronger and stronger. There was only one possibility for someone who had the ability to kill him, given his abilities that were comparable to a transcendent Douluo. It was an ultimate Douluo. Ultimate Douluo. There are only 6 ultimate Douluo in the entire continent. Elder Qian is in the Angel Temple, Tang Chen is in the capital of massacres, Teacher is not far away, and Elder Long is protecting me. The Holy Ghost Church's leader is far away in the Sun-Moon Empire. He can't possibly come here. Therefore, the only possibility is the sea god Douluo Pasisi. Yes, is it because of the sea god's heart? Lu Yuan pondered in his heart. When the god-slaying spear destroyed the sea god's divine consciousness, the sea god's original body must have known about this. Therefore, he might have sent Pasisi to investigate this matter. Furthermore, Pasisi coincidentally came to Martial Soul City to investigate this matter. He sensed that I used the sea god's heart, so his coming straight for me? It's really too much of a coincidence. Lu Yuan was a little speechless. Sister Xiaodao, Senior Dugu, please stop. Someone is coming. Lu Yuan said indifferently as he stared at the sky. Dai Mubai and the others were just small fries, and there was nothing to be afraid of. He could just put them aside for now. The sea god Douluo Pasisi was the real enemy, and he had to be prepared. However, he wasn't afraid. Although the relationship between the Dragon King Palace and the Martial Soul Palace was not harmonious in the eyes of the world, Bibidon and the others could not lend a hand. Lu Yuan's current strength was more than enough to deal with a Pasisi. Someone's there. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Ma Xiaodao and Dugu Bo couldn't help but raise their heads to look at the sky, only to see a figure quietly appear in the originally empty space. She had a head of long blue hair, and a pair of sapphire-like eyes. Her pretty face was like jade, and her body exuded an aura that was as inclusive as the sea. This woman was so graceful and noble. Her figure flashed a few times in mid-air, and she quickly appeared in front of Lu Yuan. Her deep eyes stared straight at Lu Yuan, and gave him a great sense of pressure. It's the sea god's heart indeed. Pasisi looked at the vast sea cosmic shroud in Lu Yuan's right hand, which was exuding a brilliant blue light. Her red lips parted slightly, and a faint voice sounded. Who are you? Pasisi's appearance was too sudden, and her aura was as deep as the abyss. Ma Xiaodao and Dugu Bo's expressions immediately changed, and their figures flashed, and they stood in front of Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan waved his hand slightly, and gestured for the two of them to move aside. He was not weaker than them now, and he no longer needed their protection. In the face of a powerhouse like Pasisi, it was useless even if they stood in front of him. Looking at Pasisi, Lu Yuan asked with a smile, Senior, you're here to look for me, right? You're quite brave. A trace of surprise flashed across Pasisi's eyes when she saw Lu Yuan asking Ma Xiaodao and Dugu Bo to move aside. One had to know that she was not concealing her aura, and any soul master with a bit of eyesight could feel the terrifying aura on her body. However, this young man in front of her actually dared to face her alone. This courage was extraordinary. I'm indeed here to look for you. The sea god ordered me to investigate the sea god's heart, and his divine sense was destroyed. Now that the sea god's heart is in your hands, even if you didn't do it, it must be closely related to you. Since that's the case, you should return to the sea god's island with me. Pasisi said softly. Although her tone was soft, there was a trace of unquestionable meaning in it. Haha, what if I don't want to go? Lu Yuan chuckled and asked. Then I'm afraid it's not up to you. Pasisi shook her head slightly, and a fierce look flashed across her eyes. The aura from her body burst forth, and all the people in the waiting area who were below the titled rank immediately knelt on the ground beside her. The aura of an ultimate Douluo was so frightening that it was not something they could resist at all. Compared to the others, Lu Yuan and the other two who were facing Pasisi directly endured most of the pressure. Ma Xiaotao's body swayed, but she was still able to support herself and not bend over. However, Du Gubo staggered and bent over. The pressure of an ultimate Douluo was still too great for a rank 94 titled Douluo like him. Lu Yuan's face turned pale. The golden dragon's bloodline in his body circulated rapidly, and his physique was stronger than most titled Douluos. Therefore, even though it was very difficult for him to resist, he still managed to hold on and stand firmly where he was. Hey! After seeing Lu Yuan's performance, a look of astonishment flashed across Pasisi's eyes. She had arrived a little late, and did not see Lu Yuan's 200,000-year soul rings. However, Lu Yuan's bone age and rank could not be hidden from her. Rank 65 at 14 years old, he could be considered an exceptional genius. However, even if he was an exceptional genius, he was still only at rank 65. However, Lu Yuan, who was only at rank 65, was actually able to resist her aura. Even though she did not use her full strength, Pasisi was still shocked. I've seen countless geniuses in my life, but it's the first time I've seen someone with your cultivation and strength at such a young age. To be honest, I do feel a bit of admiration for you. It's just a pity that I can't disobey Lord Sea God's orders. Pasisi sighed softly. After that, her aura rapidly increased, and she pressed down on Lu Yuan and the other two again. At this moment, a black figure suddenly appeared in front of Lu Yuan. He waved his sleeves gently and removed the pressure around Lu Yuan and the other two. At the same time, an aura that seemed to be above heaven and earth was pressed down on Pasisi from his body. In just a moment, Pasisi's powerful aura was completely suppressed. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.